press record, hear the signal bloom. One voice, one guest in a quiet room. No gimmicks, no rush, just stories told. 20 years deep and the truth is gold. From pencil lines to silver screens, late night talks and the behind the scenes. Creators speak, no script, no wall. Just a word balloon floating through it all. It's a conversation on a soundbite chase. Time slows down in that shared space. If you love the craft, you know the tune. Pull up a chair. Welcome to Word Balloon. 20 years of Word Balloon. Voices rising, stories true. One-on-one, the long form way. Let the creators lead the pack. From comics to the big screen glow. The past, the process, the highs, the lows. 20 years and still in tune. This is the sound of Word Balloon. Some stories dark, how it's your spine. Action and adventure, frame by frame in time. Comedy laughs, break the tension wide. Books, games, TV, all collide. From indie dreams to household names, every journey's earned its place. Not just what's hot, not just what's new, but why they make the things they do. No clock to beat, no headline rush, just passion, process, failure, trust. You hear the heart behind the tune. That's why we keep coming back to Word Balloon. 20 years of Word Balloon. A pop culture deep dive crew. Creators talking craft and life. The joy, the pride, the sacrifice. From panels through the walls that boom. Every genre finds its room. 20 years and still in tune. Lifted higher, Word Balloon. Patrons make the journey real. Confoes, buzzing moments seal. Life handles, minds in hand. Meeting heroes where they stand. From hotel halls to honest roads, every mile else the vision grow. From a podcast passion fuel to a network dream. Expanded full. 20 years of Word Balloon. Still free, still personal, still true. One conversation at a time. Preserving pop culture line by line. And the future's coming clear and soon. Spirit stories, one to one, two. 20 years down, there's still room. Here's to what's next, Word Balloon. Press like the legends speak. 20 years strong, still going deep. Oh, me.
Aloha, it's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys are in for a treat. I will be interviewing a friend of the podcast, John Siuntres. Now, we are going to be talking about the 20th anniversary of Word Balloon. And, and also too, I want him to promote his, Word Balloon magazine that is exclusive to the League of Word Balloon listeners. That's the Patron supporters at the $3 and plus tier. Now, note, listeners, I'm going to let you know I have been a part of the League of Word Balloon podcast, Word Balloon listeners for the past 5 years. John, I'm still waiting for my cape and mask. Where is it?
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry, Jason. I have to get that to you. Yeah, it's only a picture, everybody. It's not a real cape and mask, unfortunately. But great to see you, man. How you been?
I'm doing great, John. I really am. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to me, John is the gold standard in comic book, pop culture interviews, in podcasting. He's shaking his head. He's going, no, John, you are. Okay? I have said this many times, that John is the one podcaster who inspired me to start doing comic book interviews. John, I will never forget that. Thank you very much.
That's the highest compliment, Jason. Seriously, thank you. And I'm really glad, because I don't see other podcasts as competition I think there is plenty of room for plenty of voices for the conversation, and I welcome all of them. And even those that have made connections with creators that are like, oh man, that guy hasn't talked to me forever or never talked to me.
Hmm.
And John Cassaday, it bummed me out when I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
I won't deny. First of all, I mean, I had met him a couple times. He's a really nice
Yeah.
guy, but he would only exclusively do this one New York podcast. And I'm like, all right, whatever, that's your choice. It's cool.
And
What are you
yeah,
gonna do?
yeah.
That's
I
all
know
right though.
it's kind of like, oh, but it's like, hey, at least I can, at least you can sit back and enjoy their conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Jimmy Chung, longtime acquaintance, and he just doesn't want to do podcasts. And it's like, yeah, I don't like the way my voice is. He's got a great voice. He's got a nice British accent. Amazing artist, of course, going back to Young Avengers and the
Yes.
stuff he did at CrossGen in the early aughts.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah.
and again, I'm like Jimmy. As long as I can say hi to you at a convention, I'm cool. Oh, you don't have to come on my show.
Yeah. All right. So John, I would say thank you very much for coming back on the podcast. Again, I'm going to keep saying this. Congratulations, War Balloon, 20 years. That is so
Ta-da.
cool. Just
Yeah.
ah,
I know. Well, it is shocking that it has been 20 years. And listen, there's no editor or program director, unlike broadcasting, to say, "Hey, yeah, I think we've got enough. Let's wrap this up." And especially in the streaming world today, when you're lucky to get 3 seasons, 10 episodes
yes.
a season, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I got a couple thousand episodes, and I've been doing it for 20 years. It's showing up. I mean, the only thing stopping me is me.
Hmm.
And hell, we were talking off the air. I've had a couple of health issues over the years, and even when I was in the hospital, I told my sister, I'm like,
Hmm.
get this is a
Yeah.
couple of years ago.
Yes, I
I'm like,
remember.
get my laptop. I'll be able to podcast. And she's like, you're trying to get well, and I'm like, yeah, but this is my work, and also I'm letting my fans know that hey, I'm okay. And I
Yes.
mean, so that was you may remember those episodes. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And but the other thing too, but in some sense too, it's kind of it helps you because I remember those times and um but also too it was good for you to start healing as well too because I cannot imagine being in the hospital and I don't and I'm not going to dwell on it but
It's
just
okay.
being in the hospital for at least 2 or 3 days is kind of it's going to drive you stir crazy.
Try 5 weeks. I had this weird leg
Oh
infection,
yes,
and also initially, and again, I'm fine. Everybody, everything's cool. But they're like, we're reasonably certain we can scrape this out of you because it kept growing back. And they're
you
like,
oh
so
god
we think we're reasonably certain we can save your leg. And I'm
you,
like, oh my God, please
oh,
don't. The worst. And
yes
thank God everything's fine. My legs are okay, good
yes
enough.
hmm
And no, everything's okay. But yeah, that was the thing. It was like 5 weeks. It's so weird, honestly. You'll forgive the sports tangent, but 2018 is when it happened, and
yes
it was at this time of year. I was stuck in Christmas and New Year's for 5 weeks in the hospital. And
yes
again, like the nurses, again, this is what's great about the healthcare system. You know from your wife as well,
hmm
who's a doctor. They could not have been nicer, and it really could have been this like, poor me, I'm sitting in the hospital, and instead, like they're like cool and they're great. And they're like, hey, you doing all right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But they
yes
they were. It was lovely people, and I mean, I can't say enough about the healthcare industry. I know that from a regulatory and coverage standpoint, but that's not the people in the hospital busting their asses to make you feel better.
yes no but yeah but I'm glad you got through that phase,
Thanks.
you know, and but yes, I remember those episodes and just again during those times, just thank you for still podcasting. It
Oh,
was
geez,
great.
man. No, it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I have no intention of stopping anytime soon, ever, really.
Hmm.
I think this is something I'll be doing for the rest of my life because it's easy, it's
Yes.
fun,
Yes.
and also there's always something new to talk about because thank God, even the people that are on ongoing comics, hey, wow, so and so's been writing the X-Men for 3 years. Well, every 6 months there's a new story.
Hmm.
So there's something new to talk about.
Yes.
Hell, Fraction, just started on Batman this
Yes.
fall,
Hmm.
and he says he's got a 100 issue plan, and I much like Tom
Wow.
King back in the day. And yeah, I kind of believe him. And that was the other thing. I have a friend, George Hoffman, who did a fantastic sports podcast, and it was called "Tell Me a Story I Don't Know."
Hmm.
and he ran through his Rolodex of famous people because he was a
Yes.
longtime Chicago broadcaster. And when he got done with those first conversations, he's like, "Well, I guess I'm done." And I'm
Hmm.
like, "George, you can have people back. I know it's called Tell Me a Story, but they have more than one
Yes,
story.
that's
You
yeah.
can you can have them back." And nope, nope, that's it. And God bless him. That's fine if
And
that's what he wants
yeah.
to do. But I mean, the nuances of my discussions with people like Brian Bendis and
Hmm.
Fraction and
Yes.
Rucka, Brubaker, and all these people. Those are all dudes. But even the women like Kelly Sue and Gail
Yes.
Simone,
Hmm.
it's like, no, man, Kelly Thompson, a newer one, but again, someone I'm always happy to talk to. No, there's always something new to learn.
Yeah, and the other thing, um, and listeners, I'm gonna apologize. I sent John a list of questions that we're not going in, but we're gonna cover a couple things. But the thing I love about your podcast, John, is it's not just about, okay, what are you writing? Let's promote it. Okay, thank you, goodbye. It's sometimes, hey Matt, how are you doing? Hey, John, or I'm just making stuff like, hey man, I started to plant cactus or something.
Right?
Hey, how's that going? But but
Well, you
like you
learn more
said,
about the person. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
and again, yeah, again, Jason, that's kind of something I learned from the best radio shows that I would listen to, and uh, the host and guest would form an acquaintanceship, if not a friendship, and it just you felt like you were kind of in the back seat of a car, and the two friends are in the front seat having this amazing conversation,
Yes.
and that's the kind of vibe that I'm hoping to provide with Word Balloon. And again, getting to know these people provides that. And I'm fortunate enough to have done radio as long as I did,
Hmm.
that making an interview, I am relaxed.
Hmm. Yes.
And I'm not thinking, oh my God, I'm talking to Neil Adams back in the day.
Yes. Hmm.
Somebody like that, that's an all time great.
Hmm.
Or, the flavor of the month for that matter.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm just conversational. I mean, coming from sports radio, that was really our attitude.
Hmm.
We weren't a just scores and heavy stories and heavy journalism thing. We were the neighborhood bar where people were just hanging out,
Hmm.
talking, or putting it in comic book terms, at your local shop.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's screw around while we're talking about the Avengers and the
Yes.
Justice League or whomever.
Because the other thing too is that the other thing I like about your show is not only we get to know the person, but for us listeners, let's say, I'm going to pick on Jimmy Palmiotti because I'm going to see him next month at
Yeah, yeah,
PopCon in Hawaii or so. I can't remember
cool.
the convention name, but like if you're talking to Jimmy and Jimmy goes, yeah, John, I remember, I went to this bar and when I see him, I'll go, hey, can you sign my comic? Oh, hey, I listened to your word balloon. Hey, I know you like this bar. I know you like this drink. There's one downtown and
Yes,
it's you know,
it gives you a different connection to the person that you're meeting. And
yes,
and again, the kindest compliment is, "Hey, I heard you on Word Balloon. I understand you build ships in a bottle. I do that too." And
yes,
then the creator is excited, or your favorite drink. Yeah, man. Do they make it? Do they make it with Cuervo? Okay, great.
yeah,
Tequila or whatever. And it's like, yeah, man. No, that's that. It's an icebreaker. It lets again, it presents you as a like-minded person as the creator, and there's just another dimension to your conversation other than sign my book. Yeah, I really like the Hulk. Yeah, it's
and
like great.
yeah.
You
It's
know,
just yeah.
so I'm
Oh,
with you, man.
okay, all right. Um, let me start ask you some of the questions.
Sure, man.
All right. So, where can listeners follow you on social media?
I mostly am under Word Balloon. Wordballoon.com is the website. John Word Balloon is me on. Yeah, I'm still on X. The only reason I forgive the tangent. I had an old aunt who lived on the south side of Chicago, and her neighbor got really dicey in gangs and stuff. And Aunt Margot, and I'm like, Aunt Margot, why don't you move? And she's like, No, I was here before these people. Let them move. I'm not going anywhere.
Yes.
And she's a tough old lady, man. And that's kind of my attitude with X. I'm like, I know it's become a shit show over there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it is. I still keep it light and positive.
Yes.
And so I'm on X as John Word Balloon. I'm under Word Balloon on Blue Sky.
Hmm.
Facebook, I'm under a couple different places on Word Balloon, but also my name, John Siuntres.
Hmm.
I'm on Instagram under Word Balloon. I
Hmm.
can't do TikTok, Jason. I don't know about you guys,
No, I
but yeah. Nobody needs to see me in a leotard holding an energy drink. Nobody needs to see
John, let's put it this way, John. All right, that's why we're not doing this. We're not doing a YouTube thing
that.
because
Yes, but
I don't have the face for YouTube.
well,
Okay,
neither do I. Yet I
I don't have the
subject my
body type.
friends. Yeah, I hear you, man. But yeah, I subject my people to YouTube. I started doing YouTube alongside the audio because of the lockdown and COVID.
Yes.
And it's like, well, hell, we're all stuck here.
Hmm.
And it's certainly I was aware of all the comic book YouTubers out there, and I was doing a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
but not enough to really sustain or maintain an audience.
Hmm.
And suddenly it's like, no, I had to do that, and I'm glad. I mean, I really started with just less than 1,000 subscribers, and now I've got over 5,000 there,
That's good. Yeah.
which is cool.
Hmm.
But the audio, I keep telling because I don't know the algorithm over at YouTube. I'll be honest, and I keep telling my guests, hey, the big engine is the audio because that's where I
Hmm.
get the majority of my audience.
Hmm. Yeah. So, but the good thing when you started to do YouTube, I think what's a great thing too is that you're able to pull up images like, yeah, like I'm just trying to let's say Amanda Connor. You know, like, hey,
Yeah,
Amanda, that's a great cut, and you can pull up the cover.
yeah,
Whereas for me, audio, all I can keep saying is, "Oh, that's a beautiful cover. Look,
sure.
Supergirl's here. Supergirl, Batman's on the and
Oh,
listeners are going, oh, I'll just try to find the image, you know."
yeah, but also, I mean, it's no different than a television or film star coming on a radio show and promoting and stuff. And yeah, we can't see it,
Yeah.
but certainly, if you're listening to Word Balloon or your show, you're into the hobby, you're aware of the product, so that's okay. But
Mhm.
yeah, it is nice to have a visual
It's
component.
yeah.
So I am while I'm not on TikTok, I am making shorts of interview highlights. And also, I've even gone a step further because I want people to think of Word Balloon as not just comic books, but really 20th century pop culture.
Yes.
I grew up with it. I'm a
Hmm.
fan of it. I still am. I
Hmm.
am a rerun nerd and
Yes.
an old movie nerd.
Hmm.
And I also think there is an audience of people slightly younger than me and even slightly older than me that are
Hmm.
internet savvy that they want a conversation about Chuck Connors and the Rifleman. Or
Hmm.
for All Saints Day, I did a 2 minute video showing what I loved about the character the Saint.
Hmm.
Roger
Yes.
Moore TV show, Vincent Price radio show,
Hmm.
even the Val Kilmer movie, things like that. Because again, I'm a fan of that, and I think there's a hunger for people, the older Gen Xers, and even some of the young boomers that are or younger
Hmm.
boomers. There's no such thing as a young boomer, but the younger
That's true.
boomers that are internet savvy, and it's like just like a kid wanting to be a Swiftie and hear about what Taylor Swift is doing. I think there is an appetite for the kind of subjects I like to watch and cover. I do that scene missing movie
Yes. We,
division of my podcast with Gabe Hardman and the
yes.
guys, and we're gonna record something on Thursday. And because it's this Christmas season, we're gonna do Burl Ives. Burl Ives was the snowman in the
Hmm.
Rudolph special, and then going back to as old as I am, 1964. But also, he made a lot of great movies and TV. And
Yes.
we don't cover the obvious. Nobody needs to hear our opinion of Casablanca or
Yeah.
Citizen Kane
Hmm. Yeah.
or The Godfather.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, major media has that covered. We're out for the hidden gems,
Hmm.
and that's why
Yes.
we call it scene missing. So, and also, I like to have the component that you can watch it for free. You don't even have
Yes.
to rent it on Amazon. You'll find it on YouTube, or you'll find it at one of the free streamers like Tubi or Pluto, things
Hmm.
like that. So, but again, yeah, that's so I'm trying to branch out on that stuff, but also doing the shorts. To quote Bill Maher, and I think he's right, people want 2 hours of audio and a
Hmm.
minute of video.
Yes.
And I have seen an uptick of subscribers and interest on my on the shorts that I put out because I
Hmm.
also chop up my interviews and
Hmm.
we'll put out a 2 minute highlight, for example.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, because I remember the short that you did was on Blue Sky. It was going, hey, Bill Bixby did this great show called The Magician, and I remember you showed it was like, holy cow, that's right. And I forgot how great it was. And I think you did a little blurb like he really learned magic tricks. He
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 did.
learned it so it looked authentic on the
Yes,
show.
Yeah, isn't that great? He learned close-up magic and stuff. And I even remember as a kid, the show only lasted a season.
Yeah.
But Universal used to shit out these procedurals
Hmm.
every year.
Yes.
And I was bummed that it didn't do better. And it was this crazy concept of a magician that solved crimes. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay. Yeah, they even tried to do it later in the 90s with Hal Linden and Henry Morgan, or Harry Morgan, Colonel Potter from
Yeah.
MASH. It was called Blake's Magic. And it's like,
Figure.
by the 90s, I think people are like, all right, I don't know. But in the 70s, sure, why not?
It was,
And
yeah.
he was coming off of My Favorite Martian,
Yes.
so we all liked young Bill Ben, Courtship of Eddie's Father.
Yes.
And yeah, it was a fun little adventure show. And he had a white Corvette and he had a white plane
Hmm.
and he had this like very extravagant life
That's
while
right. He had
doing
a
Vegas.
plane.
Yeah, crazy. Well, that's the thing. He was kind of an adventurer. He wasn't a secret agent like James Bond,
Yeah.
but he had all the trappings
Yeah.
of that. And again, on this television show, it with stock footage and everything else, it's like they made it look plausible and
Yeah.
not crazy. And again, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, John. So, I'm going to ask you. You already know, and please feel free to talk about your broadcasting history, the
Okay.
origins of Word Balloon. For new listeners and old listeners, you know, what's the origin story of Word Balloon?
Well, I started in 2005, May 5th or May 10th of 2005. And the reason why I started it was I had been working in radio since I was telling you, since 1986 professionally.
Hmm.
And I was at a station where I wasn't getting opportunities on the air.
Hmm.
And also, at that time, I was working for a company called Sporting News Radio. And the Sporting News magazine branched out into media. And it was bought by Paul Allen. Paul Allen was one of the Microsoft billionaires that
Oh,
worked
okay.
with Bill Gates and everything.
Hmm.
And he really went on a sports tear. And he bought the Seattle Supersonics basketball team while they were still in Seattle,
Hmm.
and one of the other franchises, not the Seahawks. I don't think it was the Seahawks, but anyway, decided to buy the magazine Sporting News and the One-on-One Sports Network, merge them, and use the branding of Sporting News for this national radio network. And for a moment, we were competing with Fox and ESPN as far as
Hmm.
being a syndicated 24-hour sports thing. I had previously worked for 10 years at the all sports station that CBS owned in Chicago, The Score.
Hmm.
And prior to that, I had done music for years. Well, anyway, like I said, I wasn't getting the on air opportunities. But also, I noticed that Paul Allen also started the Science Fiction Museum in Seattle.
Mm.
And it was a typical internet startup company at the time where they're like, hey, if you got an idea, email us and
Hmm.
let us know what you're thinking. And I noticed they were going to have a weekend where they were going to have comic book artists do like a drawing session with kids.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, science fiction, that obviously is synonymous with the comic book world. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, if you guys would want any sort of podcast
Hmm.
covering sci-fi and promoting the museum, I'd be happy to do it. And they wrote back and said, no, we're covered, but that's a great idea. You should just do a podcast yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I should do
Hmm.
that. And so it occurred to me that Word Balloon would be a great name
Hmm.
because it kind of conveys a conversation, given that those are the dialogue bubbles in a comic strip or a
That's,
comic book.
yeah.
Although my father would have kicked my ass because he's like, when you start a business, you want to be at the top of the alphabet. Because this was
Yes.
back in the Yellow Pages era.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, you want to be at the top of the list. W, what are you thinking? Should have called it All American Word Balloon or something. But so I started, and it was really just to generate interview and hosting recordings to perhaps get my next broadcast job.
Hmm.
Because at that point, I was just voicing and writing and producing commercials.
Okay.
And I really wanted to get back to hosting because I had done it as a DJ and I had
Hmm.
done it in sports radio, and I really wanted to get back to it. And I'm like, well, if I do these comic book things, they won't think it's a conflict of interest. And I might find that program director in radio out there that likes Star Wars. And oh my
Yeah.
God, you talked to Walt Simonson, and
Hmm.
Walt drew the Star Wars comic in the 70s.
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting wrinkle. So I figured, the occasional interview might perk somebody's interest as far as broadcasting. Well, that never happened. But what did happen was it started growing. and I got in on the ground floor of podcasting 2005.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've seen me. I noticed in your questions to me. Yeah, I used to refer anybody who started in 2005. I use astronaut analogies, and I
Yes.
feel like we're kind of the Mercury astronauts.
Yes.
If you started like if you're celebrating your 20th anniversary, you're an OG podcaster. I mean, I think the guy Adam Curry started in '04, but
Mm-hmm.
really in February of '05, Wired had this great article about podcasting was the new thing. Now there are a few that are still around that did start before me. The Comic Geek Speak guys out of
Mm-hmm.
Reading, Pennsylvania. They started a couple of months before I did, but I have a feeling we all kind of read the same articles.
Yeah.
And also, Scott Hines in Texas was doing fanboy radio out of the Texas Christian University station.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to that, and he'd get Bendis, and I would get a couple creators here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I even would call in because you could call in because it was a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I would have asked him a million different questions than what he asked. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, what am I waiting for? So I
Yeah.
started, and initially, Word Balloon was going to be a documentary project. I had a videographer, and we interviewed
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Max Allen Collins and
Mm-hmm.
Brian Azzarello about 100 Bullets, Max
Mm-hmm.
about his crime comics, Road to Perdition, and doing the Dick Tracy comic strip for decades. So, like, you know, because I wanted to do crime comics and also in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this is when Batman Begins and Sin City were happening and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And my video guy kind of flaked out on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the audio interviews, and I'm like, well, all right, I'm going to start a website,
Yeah.
wordballoon.com, post them there. Also,
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Weiland, who used to be the comic book resources editor in chief,
Okay.
he, prior to me, was doing the occasional audio interviews with creators and posting the MP3s on the CBR website.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a radio background as well, I learned later as we
Mm-hmm.
became friends. So yeah, that's where it started. And thankfully, when I started getting some of the other A-listers out there, like Bendis and the rest, they had a big message board
Mm-hmm.
presence.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, you know, and so I'd go to their message boards and be like, hey, you like Jeff Johns? Well, I just did an interview with Jeff Johns. Here's the link.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I started growing my audience. And also, the great thing was Jeff at DC and Brian Bendis at Marvel told the publicity guys, hey, let this guy talk to our creators and our writers and whatever because he knows what he's doing.
That's
And
nice.
and that's great because I did at that by that point 2005, you know, 20 years of doing regular traditional broadcast
Mm-hmm.
radio. So yeah, I was kind of ready. And thankfully enough of them found the novelty of podcasting interesting. I mean, back then there was only like 12 of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I make the George Burns joke. We were all in the top 10. There were only 8 of us. And it's kind of true. You know, it really is kind of true. Now, my God, I even remember in like 2009, my buddy Chris Niesman, who used to be on a couple of podcasts here and there, it's like, do you realize there's more comic book podcasts than there are movie talk podcasts? And I'm like, yeah, because the best and worst thing about podcasting is anybody can do it. No one is
Yes.
going to stop you. Throw
Yep.
open a mic, record, or do it live. It's even easier now. Jason, we've outlived Skype.
Yes. Yeah, I
Which
know.
I mean, you know, when I started, I was doing phone interviews,
Yes.
and you had asked. It's funny, I noticed, and forgive me, I don't mean to like go right to your questions,
Oh
but I
no,
noticed
no.
one of
But
the things you wanted to talk about. I don't think we were paying for long distance,
okay,
or if
yeah.
we, and also, I mean, but prior to Skype, I did buy this great piece of broadcast equipment that you could hook up to your computer
Mm-hmm.
through your telephone line, and it was a hybrid between your phone line and computer.
Oh, okay.
And so, yes, some of those, like when I interviewed Gene Colan,
Yes.
that was in the first year in 2005, the great Marvel and DC artist. And yeah, we did it on the phone. And it was great. It was wonderful. He's one of, you know, really was like one of my first big gets. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to Gene Colan. And then, of course, I had the embarrassment of we finished the interview and the recording didn't take.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, Gene, I'm so sorry. And he goes, oh, John, we can do it again tomorrow. I like talking to you. What a generous guy.
That's really
And so that's if you if you hear our interview,
Mhm.
which is on my library at wordballoon.com, that will be that is from 2005, but it's take 2. And those things happen every now and then. What are you going to do?
Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah. Oh, the other thing I wanted to ask was, you know, you were, actually before I continue, I just want listeners talk about you, like you said, next year, 2026, you're going to be, in the broadcasting field for 40 years. Please talk about, because I saw this on your YouTube page, that you're a former associate editor of Boxing Illustrated.
Yes.
Please talk a little bit about that, and please mention that you're inducted. Now you have to help me. I can't remember because
Oh, no
I
worries.
listened to the audio was you're inducted into the, was it a local
No, it was
broadcast hall of,
Illinois, my college, Illinois State
yeah,
University. Yeah,
please
when you
talk
say
about those
inducted, I
things.
was only
Yeah.
inducted in one thing. But yeah, they have a broadcast hall of fame down at in Normal, Illinois. Bloomington BLOMO, as I've been told, is the new abbreviation for Bloomington Normal. I'm like, when did that start? But apparently that's what they call it.
Hmm.
But anyway, Illinois State University. In the 2010s, they started a broadcast hall of fame for all of their alums that did significant things in broadcasting. And I got the shock of my life right after the pandemic,
Hmm.
and got a call from my friend Deborah Rozak, who was the sponsor of the stations and TV and radio, and she's like, "Congratulations, you're in the Illinois State Broadcasting Hall of Fame." And I'm like, you know, I mean, I had a radio career and a significant one, 30 years in
Hmm.
Chicago and another 5 prior to that in Bloomington Normal.
Hmm.
But I'm like, I really wasn't, a main host or anything like that. And she said, John, you're a first generation podcaster. You're a podcast pioneer. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
But as far as my radio years, yeah, I mean, I was very lucky. We even had a high school radio station in
Hmm.
suburban Chicago. So I was fascinated by the radio as a kid.
Hmm.
Voices in the air. And especially in the summer,
Hmm.
staying up late and
Hmm.
just these people were telling us what the world was. It was the internet before the internet.
Hmm.
Because especially a lot of those news talk stations, because they were telling you what was happening around the world at that minute.
Hmm.
And that's where you got that information from.
Yeah.
And that fascinated the hell out of me.
Hmm.
So I wanted to be a part of it, even as a 14-year-old kid.
Hmm.
So I got with my high school radio station. I got to, back then for the FCC, you had to have a third class operator's license. I love Letterman also had one of those as well. And I
Oh.
consider myself very proud because even within, if it wasn't during high school, during college, they changed it, and then it just became a form. But back in our day, you had to take a test. You had to
Oh
go
God.
downtown to the federal building and
Ooh.
actually take a test. And I still have my permit. I framed it, and it's like my diploma or whatever. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of it. So from 1979. So anyway, I was just a radio nerd, and in
Hmm.
college it was great. We were experimental, and we got to do beyond DJing and playing songs. We'd do comedy bits and
Hmm.
crazy stuff, and it just fueled my excitement for audio entertainment in general.
Hmm.
So I was lucky to in the early '90s to finally. Well, first I was at a radio station down in Bloomington for a few years
Hmm.
as a music host and music director, and I had a really good career for being in a small market radio
Hmm.
station. Then I moved on. Then I broke in, as you were saying, about boxing. I was trying to figure out a way of keeping my hand in media, and my friend suggested that I should start covering boxing because we had a lot of big fighters that would come to Chicago. They'd have their blowout fights
Hmm.
that would pad their records. I mean, they weren't the major Las
Okay. Yeah.
Vegas
Okay.
or New York kind of fights or even international fights.
Hmm.
But they'd come in and fight a ham and egger and get a quick knockout.
Yeah.
Great. And there were these magazines, Ring Magazine, which is
Yes.
still around,
Yeah.
and back then Boxing Illustrated. So I started covering. I noticed in the back of the magazine they had a section for fights around the country and around the world,
Hmm.
and for some of these kind of local fights, they would provide coverage.
Hmm.
So I offered to start doing that in Chicago. My dear departed friend, the great Bert Sugar, who, if you know boxing history, was one of the great boxing historians and publishers and also television personalities.
Hmm.
He liked what I was doing. He was very sweet. He made me an associate editor of Boxing Illustrated magazine. I really carved out a niche here in Chicago
Hmm.
as a boxing expert.
Hmm.
And even when Ken Burns did the Jack Johnson uh, PBS, Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight
Mm-hmm.
champion from literally 125 years ago, the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the local PBS station had a tie-in because Johnson spent a lot of his life in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
while he was heavyweight champion. So they called on me to be an expert, a talking head. And I've got some of these clips
Yeah.
on my website, on the YouTube site.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you could see me, over the years and my moments of covering boxing. But yeah, I did it from 1989 to 2006, and
Mm-hmm.
during that time in '92, the 24-hour sports station here in Chicago, The Score, started, and I tried to get involved. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of the hosts had already been doing sports shows on other stations, and I was showing up as a boxing
Mm-hmm.
expert. But I'm like, hey, beyond what I write about in boxing, I do know radio.
Yeah.
So I got an opportunity. I started off as a weekend producer, screening calls, but occasionally when there were fights, they'd
Mm-hmm.
lean on me for analysis. I built up my cred for, the next 14 years
Mm-hmm.
from 92 to 2006, doing all that stuff. And then, found other jobs, like I said, making commercials and things
Mm-hmm.
in radio.
Yeah.
And then finally, like I said, in '05, I'm like, hey, something, I still want to host. I still want to
Yeah.
report.
Mm-hmm.
So I started Word Balloon, but it became its own thing.
Yeah. Listeners, the reason why I had to bring up the former associate editor of Boxing Illustrated is because if you go on to John's YouTube webpage, you see a very young John Siuntres on it's a local news
Yeah, it
network
was
talking about the
yeah, it was the
Olympic
Olympics.
boxings.
Yeah, it was 92, right
Yes.
after the Olympics were done. And we actually had a good year that year as far as the US boxing team. De La Hoya was one of the gold medalists, but we
Hmm.
were focused on the Chicagoans that were part of the team. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, neither of them medaled. This light heavyweight, 175 pounds, Montel Griffin,
Hmm.
and Danell Nicholson, who was a heavyweight. And Montel did pretty good. He was a top contender. He fought Roy Jones Jr.
Hmm.
at light heavyweight. Um, but but Danell, unfortunately, was more of an opponent than a real
Hmm.
ever a presence or a threat as a heavyweight. He just didn't have the punch. But yeah, you can see me at 28 years old, and I don't know if you're a UFC fan. Mike Goldberg, Spike Goldberg, the play-by-play guy for UFC, was the sports anchor, and he cut to me, and for 3 minutes we
Yes.
discussed how the Chicagoans did in the '92 Olympics. And it's funny, a friend of mine saw that and he said, "Oh, you were reading from a teleprompter, were you?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "No, that was all off the top of my head." And he goes, "Wow." And I said, "First
That's
of all, I was 28."
hmm
I go, "Secondly, I was really trying to get a full-time job. So any opportunity I had to be on microphone or camera, that was an audition.
hmm
And I had to make sure I was razor sharp and at my best." So yeah, it's fun, and I'm thin. I don't mind the way I looked. Again, you and I have faces
we're
for radio,
it's
but
age. It's age. Come on.
yeah,
It's
exactly,
it's the
man.
gravity of the earth, you know.
It's sad but true. You're right, man. But yeah, it was no. So that was really great, and I had already started working at the Score at that point, the sports station.
Hmm.
There's also a great. There was the Chicago Tribune, the newspaper. They had a 24-hour news station called CLTV, and they had a sports show, and they had me on one night in 1999, and they had me on for like pretty much other than the top of the hour sports scores.
Hmm.
For the rest of the hour, it's me.
Hmm.
And I don't have the segment with just sports because I cut right to my first segment. But like they had me on nonstop for like 45 minutes, without commercials, and it was really fun and it was an
Hmm.
interesting time. And Angel Manfredi, who was a lightweight champion, who was a contemporary of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s, had
Hmm.
just lost to Floyd in a big third round knockout. He called in, so it's really fun. And again, that was a surprise, but I think I conducted myself well asking him questions about the fight. And yeah, it's good. It's fun, and it's relaxed. It's what you described Word Balloon to be because it was an hour that yeah we got in the news of what was happening, but also just fun BS. And again,
Yes.
that was the vibe we got from the Score was to be conversational and fun.
Yeah. No, and thank you for talking about your history because that's what I want listeners to know about you that that you have this history in radio, in sports, you know,
Yeah,
and that
nominated for an Emmy, television wise, for a talk show that I was kind of
oh, I
the
didn't know now. I
sidekick.
didn't know this. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, 1997 or eight. Um, we did a clip show. We had a sports interview show. My friend Mike North was the host of it, and it would come on the CBS affiliate after the local news on Sunday night,
Hmm.
and we had a half hour sports interview show. And I was just, to put it in Conan O'Brien terms, I was the Andy Richter. I was the
Yes.
sidekick. And but I hosted the clip show and I did a bunch of characters and I got crazy, but it was really fun. And they put it up for nomination. And I mean, there's still a vetting process of the Emmy people. But yeah, I didn't win. My host won instead, which is fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, with my truly, it is an honor to be nominated. So
Yeah.
pretty cool, man. Yeah, I got the certificate and everything. You don't get the statue, but you get a nice little certificate that's got the Emmy logo. So again, nice little artifact for the career. Yeah, I did all right.
Yes. Because it's something unexpected. It's not like, you know, yeah, yeah, like I said, I didn't know that. But that's pretty cool. That
Yeah,
is
well, all right. This is embarrassing, but I will say because I think it's a ridiculous question. But I have a younger cousin who's about, I got to do the math. And she's about 30 years younger than me, and she's like, "So, how famous are you, or were you?" Which is fantastic, covering both. Are you still famous, or are you a has-been? And she goes, and I started laughing, and she goes, well, like on a scale from 1 to 10. And I said, maybe 3. I said, because it's been literally, I mean, I haven't been on the air.
Hmm.
Well, the last I spent my last 5 years in broadcasting doing commercials, but then I also was a traffic news reporter
Hmm.
on the CBS News affiliate for a couple of years. So, and that ended a pandemic. They cut back on everything because
And
everyone was
yeah,
locked down.
yeah,
So there weren't as many cars on the road. So they,
yeah.
they cut everybody back. But I'm like, so, yeah, I go, I go, now I have the podcast
Hmm.
and I do have thousands of viewers and listeners,
Yes.
but I certainly don't have the audience that I had when I was on Chicago
Hmm.
broadcasting. But again, it's been years. I said, and also, as far as my broadcast career, I got to do a lot of fun things, but I was never a full time host. At
Hmm.
best, I was a sidekick, but a significant one that, like I said, would do my little comedy sketches, and I would
Hmm.
do song parodies about the various sports teams and the various
Hmm.
personalities. So I was known, mostly in the '90s.
Hmm.
But yeah, so, and people remember the greatest thing that happens is with the podcast, I'll be at a convention and they'll go, listen, I know about Word Balloon, but am I wrong? Weren't you on sports radio? And I'm like, yes, I was. Because I was also occasionally on
Hmm.
sporting news radio covering boxing because they would send
Yes.
me to the big fights. So yeah, that's even crazier when the comic book fans know my broadcast career. That's pretty neat.
Yes. No, but thank you.
But a
And
3 out of 10.
no,
I'm on the charts, but I'm really low.
but you know what? But John, I'm gonna say, and you can correct me on this, but the main thing is you're having fun.
Yes,
You're having fun doing this because
that's
it'll
the
be nice
key.
to be that top position, number 10. But man, if you're miserable trying to stay 10,
Jason, I could tell you just horror stories of my friends and acquaintances that are still in the broadcasting rat race.
and
And everything you're seeing, and of course, we can even attribute it now to Warner Brothers being for sale
yeah,
and
it's
Paramount and Netflix fighting over it. You know, hundreds of people, if not more, are going to lose their jobs whenever
yes.
those deals are made because of redundancy. And same thing's happening in broadcasting. And also, frankly, both local television and local radio, they're getting very cheap. And where there used to be more local, not only on camera
Hmm.
people, but people
Yes.
behind the scenes, they cut everything to the bone. And like I said, my surviving friends in broadcasting are frankly shitting bricks about what their future is. Now, again, I'm sick. I just turned 61. I would still like to be in
Hmm.
broadcasting,
But
but I recognize the realities. But also, a part of me is relieved because I'm not shitting bricks every day. I am
yes.
doing something that thankfully has become a small business
Yes.
and pays the rent. So
Yes.
that's cool. I
Hmm.
am not making any sort of major income, and I
Hmm.
appreciate every patron
Hmm.
and sponsor
Yes.
that I have, including yourself, obviously.
Hmm.
But I honestly, it's tough out there in broadcasting, and what I would recommend for anyone aspiring to any sort of hosting thing, have something to say first of all, because I do think, as I was saying about TikTok, nobody needs to see me in a unitard holding an energy drink. All these kids that are influencers, I don't consider myself an influencer. I think I've got more to say than just
Hmm.
you guys. I just bought this new thing. It's great.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would say um, don't wait for the job. Create your own little niche
Hmm.
because they're certainly out there. But you need to have something to say.
Yes.
And I will point to and congratulate my younger brethren of YouTube and audio that are out there that have found a new niche. Comic book counseling is a great couple show.
Yes.
They're a great podcast.
Yes.
Casualty Comics on YouTube
Hmm.
is one of my favorites, and it's this young Canadian girl who adores the Silver Age when it comes to
Hmm.
comics and has really interesting stuff. I watch her stuff. So I mean, you can find a space, but if all you want to do is go, well, this is what I bought, and this is what I think of it, you can do that. I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but it's not very different. And I
Hmm.
really think you need to do more than just the obvious to really get noticed.
Yes. No, that's true. And I'm going to say, like you said, local news stations, and I'm sure listeners will know this. Even here, like, we have three local news stations.
Okay.
On the weekend, I'm not going to mention the local news station, but you can tell already their weekend, their
It's all syndicated.
6 and 10 o'clock. It's just one newscaster. He's, trained, he has that, he's trained as a meteorologist and stuff. He's also a newscaster, but it's just him.
Same thing in my thing. Yeah, man. I mean, that's
And it,
I was doing overnight traffic in Chicago,
mhm.
and now they've shoved that to the newscaster, and he has to do everything,
Yeah,
just like you
it's just,
described. So
yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, I would certainly assume because of why being so far from the mainland. I mean, obviously there is so and also your volatile weather that it is crucial to have local programming and local information for
Yes.
everyone.
Hmm.
But I mean, my God, you see what the current administration is doing to gut public radio and public
Yes.
television.
Hmm.
And I don't know the Hawaii situation. I'd be curious to hear it. Here in Chicago, we're going to be fine
Hmm.
because we're a big city
Hmm.
and we have enough private donors to sustain
Hmm.
our local programming.
Hmm.
It's really these, and forgive me, I'm going to say it, these bumblefuck small communities that rely on the public station for local news,
Hmm.
and they're screwed because they're the ones that get the lion's share of funding through the Corporation for
Mm.
Public Broadcasting, which was just dissolved.
Yeah.
And listen, you can own the libs all you want. Those people are getting information that was nonpartisan and for everybody.
Yeah.
And now they're screwed because some jerk in Washington,
Yes.
hey, look how we're owning the libs, aren't we cool? And because they've been talking about it for years and now we finally did it. It's all performative, and if anything, it hurts the country and it
Yes.
hurts the population. And everyone's going to wise up to it when those cuts happen. And I think we'll
Yes.
see a change.
Yes. I agree on that. I do. Um, I really do. So I'm sorry, John, because I don't want
Yeah,
to
please,
turn
buddy.
this to like, because I can go off on, yeah. So,
Yeah, I
let-
know. Forgive me, everybody, for the political moment there. If you
no,
want to
but
cut it, you can.
no, but I'm going to say, yeah, it,
It's
it's,
cool.
yeah.
No. We'll get through it, man.
Well,
Hey, there
I
have been
think
tougher
that's true.
times. There really have been tougher times than what we're dealing with. I can say that as a man who, in his younger years, remembers the turmoil of the '60s. And yeah, I
Yes.
caught the tail end of it, but I certainly wasn't even aware of it, even as a tiny little kid,
Hmm.
because he couldn't
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that these times now are not tough times, but we've been through it before. We
And
will
yeah.
get through it.
Oh,
We will get
yes.
through it.
That's no, but you're right. That is true. Um, in the early days, when you booked some legendary creators like Denny O'Neil, Gene
Yeah.
Colan,
Hmm.
I'm just curious, like, when you ask them, hey, can you come on my podcast show? Did they question you like, what's a podcast?
Oh, absolutely. I would describe it as internet radio.
Oh,
And also would, because again, fortunately, by 2005, I had a couple decades of radio experience. And at the time, could say, hey, I worked at CBS Radio. I currently work at Sporting News
yes,
Radio.
yeah.
So I have this background. It's not, Iggy's podcast.
Yes.
I know you've never heard of me,
No.
but
Yeah.
so that helped. And also, I had examples and I would even send them. I even made a CD of highlights that I handed out in 2006
Hmm.
at a couple comic conventions. And that's how I first got Bendis, and I guess it wasn't late, actually fall of '05, but that's how I got Bendis and Rucka and some of the other early people and stuff.
Remember? Yes.
And again, thank God these people with word of mouth and the message boards would be like, oh no, you got to do John's show. He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was hard initially with DC. They were a little more corporate. Marvel, and especially Marvel, they're the hare and the tortoise.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's the hare. Marvel
Mm-hmm.
jukes and can adjust quickly, even now, even owned by Disney. But that said, every now and then you suddenly look and the turtle's not behind you anymore, it's ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that right now about the current horse race. And I think there are good Marvel books right now, don't get me wrong, and
Yeah.
excellent
Yeah.
creators. But I do think DC's got the hot hand right now when it comes
Yes.
to what they're
Mm-hmm.
putting out story wise and
Mm-hmm.
character wise. There just seems to be more fresh ideas. But
Mm-hmm.
again, the balance will shift as it always
Yes.
does.
No, yeah, no, you're right.
But yeah, for the old timers and stuff, yeah, it was I would say internet radio.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the great thing was I was already used to interviewing. I was very fortunate in the '90s. Got to interview the Bulls, got to interview the Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox. So I mean, Michael Jordan wouldn't remember me necessarily. Phil Jackson might.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other role players might. And yeah, that was great. So I was kind of prepared. And that's why, as I said earlier, I wasn't intimidated thinking, oh my God, I'm talking to Neil Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, this is insane. I was excited, but I could compartmentalize that
Yes.
and just be like, yeah, hey, how you doing, Neil? All right, let's
You-
talk.
You're kind of going, hey, I've already interviewed Michael Jordan. I'm not gonna go, oh my God, Neil Adams, holy cow,
Yeah.
demon in the head, demon in, you're
Yeah,
like, hey,
but
Neil,
and if honestly, it's been fun being able to dip back into some sports people. Like a few years ago, I got to interview Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
nice.
because
Oh,
he's a
that's
big
right.
nerd. And he was
Mhm.
doing those Mycroft Holmes, Sherlock Holmes's brother books,
Yes.
and one of them was a graphic novel. And the comic company's like, "You want to interview Kareem?" I'm like, "Yes," and it was so great and I told all my sports host friends, I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna have Kareem on," and they were great because they're like, "Hey, you wanted some advice?" I'm like, "Yes," and they're like, "Don't talk about the obvious, even some of the obvious Hollywood stuff, because he gets bored hearing about Airplane." He gets bored
It's-
being in the Chuck Norris movie, Game of
yes.
Death, and everything, and
Yeah.
the Bruce Lee movie. He goes, like, have other things. And so right off the bat, I'm like, Kareem, I got 5,000 at least people listening right now. And they're so pleased to learn that you're a nerd like we are.
Hmm.
And he relaxed right away and went, hey, man, we're the people with imagination.
Hmm.
That's what we got going on.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm home. And also, I knew he was a big jazz freak. I love Kareem. I mean, my God, what a superstar.
Uh-huh.
But a renaissance man, a really thoughtful, really, really thoughtful man that was capable of writing books and
Hmm.
having thoughts beyond the sport that he played and coached for so many years.
Yes.
And also, I told him, because this was during all the turmoil during Black Lives Matter and stuff,
Hmm.
and he was writing essays about
Hmm.
current events. And I'm like, hey, we need you out there because, as I said before about the '60s, I'm like, there are very few people that can speak with authority of what was happening to them in the '60s compared to what's happening today.
Yes.
And that's why now more than ever, we need your voice out there.
Yes.
And it was really, and his people are like, hey, Kareem, really enjoyed talking to you. Well, Jesus, thank you. I can walk on there for the next week or two,
Mhm.
So.
Oh, that is so cool. Let's see. I know in a previous interview with Dollar Bin Bandits that you mentioned, like, it would have been nice if you could have interviewed Stanley or
Oh
Joe
yeah.
Hubert. Were there any other creators that you wish that you could have gotten on the podcast?
Of ones I didn't get a chance to talk to, let's see. Trying to think. Well, it's funny. I don't know if we were on the air or off there, but I told you about John Cassidy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I think we're off there, yeah.
okay, he was very sweet to me, but he really just kind of made a deal with a New York podcaster that
And
he would
yeah.
only do his show, and that's fine. I mean, again, nobody's obligated to talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get a chance. And he's a modern guy, obviously.
Yeah.
But as far as old timers, I mean, a guy that I'm still trying to work on, and maybe I'll get closer to, is the great Cary Bates. Cary Bates is one of the great Bronze Age. I mean, really put his stamp on the Flash in the
Yes.
'70s, and all the way up to Crisis when he was writing the Flash well into the mid '80s.
Yes.
And also a very significant Superman and Justice League writer.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping to get him. and Greg Weisman, who made the Young Justice cartoon
Hmm.
and the Gargoyles Disney Adventures cartoon,
Hmm.
he is really good friends with Carrie. And he goes, "Oh, I'll put in a word for you." So I got to make that happen. And I really want to talk to Carrie. I mean, God, it's sad, Jason. We're talking today, and poor Rob Reiner got killed yesterday, and it's
Yes,
just
yeah.
tragic. And that's the thing, man. And it's again, I'm in my early 60s now, comfortably at 61, and a lot of these contemporaries, not only are they passed away, but a lot of them are retiring.
Hmm.
And guys and women that I've worked with when I was just getting started in the 80s and 90s, they're starting to retire now. And I
Hmm.
get it because, like my friend Tom Marker, wonderful blues host for decades.
Hmm.
Well, he's 75, and he's like, "Yeah, it's enough." And
Hmm.
I'm like, "All right, God bless you," And
Hmm.
Dave Berner, a wonderful CBS news anchor, is stepping down as well. And again, I'm really glad I got the chance to work with these guys because total pros.
Hmm.
You learn so much with everybody that you work with, young or old.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's as you reach middle age or early senior years, you kind of suddenly realize how grateful you are to the people you work with. And I always I have had the opportunity to thank a lot of my friends that are older and say,
Hmm.
"Hey, you were really a big part of the broadcaster and
Hmm.
podcaster I became. So thank you."
It's so sorry, listeners. I'm going to kind of like maybe get a little more introspective or reflective, but isn't it scary because like I've mentioned, I think I'm a couple years younger than you.
Uh,
It's scary because it's just perspective.
it is
It's
perspective.
it's
Yeah.
like, 20 years ago when you started like, yeah, man, hey, and then now it's like we're I'm
We're not
going
the
to be
kids
60
anymore.
next year, and it's kind of like
Oh, there
going,
you go, Jace. Sure.
you're kind of looking back and you're going, oh yeah, it's like,
Well, I always say because again, being old is a mind thing.
yes,
Yes, there's age. Of course there is. But look at Carol Burnett in her early 90s,
yeah,
still acting, and Michael Caine and some
yes.
of these others. And so I to reassure my 65-year-old sister, I'm like, we're not old. We're just not young anymore. And that's
Yes.
okay
Yeah.
because, you know, you're right from a standpoint of observation perspective. But I also think being in your 50s, being in when you hit your 60s, you've been around the block a couple times. So the life and career surprises that happen to people in their 20s and 30s, you've already done it. I mean,
Yeah.
I got in a couple ugly situations in my I'm trying to do the math now. It probably would have been my late 40s, early 50s, where some program directors pushed back. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm
Hmm.
not a
Yeah.
kid anymore. You
Yeah.
can do what you want, but you're going to have respect for me because I have
Hmm.
self-respect.
Yeah.
And you're not going to I'm not a punk-nosed kid.
Hmm.
So I am pushing back.
Yeah.
And it would freak them out, but I'm like, fire me. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? And
Yeah.
again, because I was arrogant and I was tired of eating shit. And
Hmm.
again, that's what my poor friends that are trying to survive in broadcasting, they got to eat a lot of shit because they're working for the man.
Hmm.
And it's like, that can get really icky. And sometimes it's not even the man's fault. It's the corporation that, again, is faceless and nameless.
Yes.
And you're just another thing on the balance sheet.
Hmm.
And if they can do without one more 60,000 a year employee, they'll do it. They'll cut
Yes.
it. And without even blinking and without a sob.
And it's
So you got to protect yourself and
and
you got to
that's
be aware of that. And again, that's why I'm thrilled that what I've called citizen media for
hmm
all these years, that was my first term for it, is so prevalent and vibrant. And
hmm
it's very interesting because there's a lot of cable and network stars that have gotten fired and now are podcasters, and they're
yes.
finding a nice second career
Yes.
doing what I figured out 20 years ago.
Yeah. Um, who are some of the pop culture celebrities that you had on the show?
I've been very lucky, man. I had the opportunity through the podcast to interview the Watchmen cast and directors. So I
Oh.
had Zack Snyder and everybody from the Watch movie, Billy Crudup and
Oh.
Malin Ackerman and Patrick Wilson and oh God, Jackie Hurl
Becky,
Haley.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, Jackie Earl Haley. Yeah,
Bad
and I
news.
mean, what
Bad
is
news bears. Yeah.
right. And I mean, yeah. So it was wonderful. And again, being a comic fan, I came to them with more knowledge. I mean, certainly everybody that was on press row, it depended because there were also some Entertainment Tonight kind of people on the press junket that are like, so to Jackie, like, is that your first superhero? And he said, oh no, didn't you hear I'm going to be the next Superman? Of course he was lying. And Jackie's like barely 5 feet tall. Really? And it's like, oh my God. And, and again, being a nerd and the movie fan that I am, I brought up a really cool movie that Jackie Haley made called Little Children. And it was this really dark character that was a child molester and a really messed up character. And I compared that to Rorschach and
Yes.
what Rorschach went to. And I could see in his eyes that he's like, oh, you know beyond Rorschach about my career.
Yes.
And literally just with our eyes, I'm like, yes, I do. You're getting a real 2-minute interview right now.
Yes.
I've shied away from some celebrity interviews, especially on the press junket scene, because that's really for sound bites. And I'm not a soundbite guy. I am I really want you to sit down.
Yes.
Like Roy Thomas for years was like, I can only give 15 minutes. I'm like, I can't cover what I want to talk to you about in just 15 minutes. So I finally got him on a couple hour-long conversations. All right, I'm fine. Same with Jim Steranko, another golden age great. But I'd say the same thing about the celebrities. So yeah, Kareem was a big one as far as being able to sit down and have a significant talk. I mean, I'm not greedy. If they'll give me a half hour, I'm happy with that because that's a conversation. That counts, But try to think of who else. Kevin Shinnick, who you may not know by name, but he was one of the weird Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, and I interviewed him for
TV.
his what is it? He's got that Kickstarter that backed.
Yes. He did a comic book a year or two ago, and but he had a big television career with the Mad TV cartoon that was on Cartoon Network.
Yes,
and Carmen Sandiego was one of his shows that he hosted as well. And yeah, that was very sweet because we had met years earlier. And he's like, no, John, I'm a fan. Oh, Phil Lamar from Mad TV.
That's right, yes.
And that blew my mind. And Phil was incredibly kind to me. And also the Star Trek people that I've gotten to interview over the years. That's a delight because I've been watching Star Trek since I was 5 years old.
Oh, yes.
So really, and I as far as the more, the Berman era guys, Jonathan Frakes and Nana Visitor from Deep Space Nine and Armin Shimmerman from Deep Space Nine and Andrew Robinson. So, and also even the new kids like Ethan Peck and Celia Rose Gooding from Strange New Worlds. So that's really been a wonderful opportunity. And I do pinch myself, but I'm again, be prepared, compartmentalize. I mean, before I did my Deep Space, I got to do them individually, but I also did a Deep Space Nine panel with Quark, Kira, and Garrick, if you know your Star Trek characters. And Kira, Nana Visitor, we were in the green room and I was pouring myself a cup of coffee and she gently nudged me in the back with her elbow. And she's like, John, are you ready for us? And I turn around and it's her and Andrew Robinson. And I'm like, yeah. And Andy goes, well, John, we know we're in good hands with you. And seriously, man, I could have started crying. I'm like, please don't do that. I got to keep my shit together.
Yeah.
We're going to talk in an hour. I said, but guys, you don't know how much that means to me.
Yeah.
Because I was there all 7 years for Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
I'm still there for the reruns.
Yes.
And yeah, man, I the way people are with Star Wars, I'm like that with Star Trek. And I don't consider myself a troll, but I am hypercritical. It's got to be good. And I can't deny that 3/5 of what we gotten from the current producers of Star Trek have really disappointed me. The animated shows are decent. And I'll be honest, I welcome the creative change with these guys leaving after they're done shooting Starfleet Academy, which just looks like hell, and Strange New Worlds. It's like, all right, goodbye. Time for some new blood.
Yes.
And even the Kelvin movies that I didn't mind when they were coming out. But again, the amount of time in between movies is such a disappointment. That's why I'm relieved with James Gunn and that Superman is coming out, in 27 and Supergirl this coming year. So yeah, we're like, he's got a plan. It's going to be, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Warner Brothers.
Yes.
Even no matter who owns them, and let's say worst case scenario that they're like James Gunn's got to leave. I think with Lanterns and the Supergirl movie and certainly the Superman movie, and the Superman movie did well enough that clearly they're going to make another one.
Yes.
I don't think we're going to see a change in whatever happens at Warner Brothers for at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's also if they can get through the regulatory process of the FTC
Mm-hmm.
approving the sale.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hurdles. And also, I'll be honest, I don't think either Paramount or Netflix are a great solution because it's one less place to work. I always make the point when I got out of college here in Chicago, there were literally 25 different companies to go work for in
Yeah.
radio. Now there's four.
Oh, God.
And
Yeah.
that is
Just,
disgusting.
yeah.
And I hate to say it because I'm a liberal, but Bill Clinton helped that out with the Telecommunications Act in the mid 90s
Mm-hmm.
and consolidation. And all of a sudden, I didn't blame any of these independent owners because, God, the guys I knew that privately owned the two radio stations I worked at, the rock station
Mm-hmm.
and the sports station, they sold them combined for $77 million. One guy selling his radio stations. How are you going to say no to that?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't blame him at all. But again, we've just seen this consolidation and
It's yeah.
less places to work, less ideas get exposed. I'm hoping that with the fact that all these other cities beyond Hollywood have suddenly become movie and television hubs,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta certainly, but even ones
Yes.
you wouldn't think of like New Orleans and other
Yeah.
cities and other states where they give tax breaks
Mm-hmm.
shooting there and stuff. I think we're going to see a lot more independent movies being made, and again with the distribution things that are out there already,
Mm-hmm.
their stuff is going to be seen. Dust, the sci-fi subscription channel you can
Yes.
do,
Yeah.
and there's other kinds of
It's
platforms and the free platforms that are out there as well. So their stuff will get out there, and hopefully we will still get new voices and interesting
and
voices.
some of it is very good quality. It's not like it's not a it's not like someone with a video camera and
Right?
and it's kind of shaky or the lighting looks off.
Nope.
No, this is well made stuff.
Sterling Gates, who was a comic book writer in the 2000s for DC, graduated to television writing, did a couple seasons with Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
He just made a short movie as proof of concept, and he did it in his home state of Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. And like you said, it's very professional. There
Yeah.
are enough crews out even in
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma to like make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's again so if you can gather the people, and also with crowdfunding, I think crowdfunding is a
Yes.
really interesting wrinkle, both in all forms of media, comics, books,
Mm-hmm.
and a film product or a video product.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's great. And again, I think these individual voices are getting out there, and it's just a matter of awareness and a way to help fund them. And I know people that are willing. There's much as my own League of Word Balloon listeners, the patrons. They like what I do. You guys are all willing to give me a couple bucks a month to keep the lights on and keep things going.
And that's a perfect segue to your Patreon page. I'm going to start off with the obvious question, and you've already seen this. So, what is the League of Word Balloon listeners?
I thought that was a cute way of describing my patrons through
It's
Patreon.
mhm.
And, because we were all into the Justice League and it sounds like a
Yes.
superhero team. So I was like, all right, be my superhero team. Let's all do this. And for years, I was just like, hey, especially when I had a job in radio, um, just to cover like equipment costs, I'd be like, hey, give me $1 a month if you can handle $1.
Hmm.
That's all. I don't, again, I don't want to get. I'm not looking to get rich off of this. I'm certainly even today, but when financial things were tough, a friend of mine, a buddy of mine in Dublin, his name's Owen, is like, you ought to try and offer a little bit more. And hey, I can help you. Why don't we transcribe your interviews and we can make a magazine? And I said, well, I've been dicking around with the idea of a book since 2009.
Yes.
Maybe this is the impetus to really kind of make the book happen.
Hmm.
So if just $3 a month, if you go to patreon.com/wordballoon, you could become a League of Word Balloon listener. You get the monthly magazine, Fraction. We're about to put together the Fraction issue. Hopefully that'll happen before the end of the month. My editor is going over it and kind of fine tuning it and making it more readable
Hmm.
versus just a pure audio
Yes.
transcription. Um, but eventually I will collect, I think, around 20 of them or so and put out a word balloon book. And that will be a different product on its own.
Hmm.
But you do that. And then also, Brian Bendis was very generous with his time. And we try to meet monthly, and we have a book club.
Hmm.
And Brian has a Discord where, beyond just hanging out, if you do a couple bucks a month at his Discord, you could be part of his writing seminars.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the facets of the seminar is they will analyze a comic book and discuss it. And he's like, "Hey, I'm doing it with my Discord. Let's do it with the league,
Mm-hmm.
your patrons." I'm like, "That's a great idea." So we started doing it this spring. I think was when we started, or late summer, early summer rather. I think May is when we first did it, and it's been a success and it's great. And other writers will show up. My buddy out Eric Palicki shows up. Tom
Yeah.
King shows up.
Yes.
You know, and my buddy, my playwright buddy of mine, Mark Pratt, has shown up, and they have legitimate questions, and his Discord and my league as well. They asked good questions, and in fact, we're hoping before the new year to do the next one is going to be about Darwin Cook's IDW Parker series of detective crime books. The outfit is going to be the one we're going to do
Mm-hmm.
volume one. We just did Birds of Prey, Kelly
Mm-hmm.
Thompson.
Yes. Yeah.
We did the first volume of Criminal with Brew Baker and Sean
Mm-hmm.
Phillips. You know, 100 Bullets. We did that.
Mm-hmm.
We Brian and I love crime comics, but
Yes.
we also did Saga, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, let's try and switch up every month. So we did Birds of Prey last month,
Mm-hmm.
and now we'll get back to crime this month with
Yeah.
Darwin Cook. But yeah, it's fun. It's great, and no, the people seem to really like it. And I've also even tried to. And another tip for podcasters and how to engage with your audience when we don't have that, and I'm going to do it before the end of the year, I always like to offer an Ask Me Anything
Mm-hmm.
opportunity.
Yes.
And if you're a patron, you can ask the questions on air. So you can come
Yes.
on the show
Mm-hmm.
and talk with me, and you can be on camera and stuff. And hey, we'll do 10 minutes or whatever about whatever you want to talk about. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You want to complain about something, you want to gripe with me about Star Trek and agree with me or disagree with
Mm-hmm.
me, or again, any comic talk, whatever, old movies, old TV.
Yeah.
I love it. And yeah, and I'm glad because I did it once in I don't think I did it in November, but I did it in October. And a couple patrons like, "Hey, you gonna do it again?" I'm like, "Yeah," and especially like because Brian is really busy. Bendis, beyond writing the comics that he does, he gets a lot of consultant stuff and has for years on animation, film,
Mm-hmm.
television, whatever. So I know he's busy with his other
Mm-hmm.
gigs as well. And I'm like, regardless, let's try and do Ask Me Anything. So I'm going to do them monthly.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, that's coming up before the end of the year.
I just want to clarify for your because I get links to the book club and just trying to find time. Hopefully one day I'll
Sure.
link in. But the thing is, but I just wanted to clarify now, correct me if I'm wrong, your book club is not just you and Bendis, but it's a Zoom call with other
Yes.
people, right?
Thank
I
you.
just want to
Yes,
make that
indeed.
clear.
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing. You get to be part of the book club, and we shoot a Zoom live.
Mhm.
Initially, I was going to do it live, but the limitations of StreamYard, I can only have 10 people on at a time.
Ah,
And
yeah.
there are times where we'll have like a couple dozen people that are in the chat. They all don't want to talk, they just want to be part of it. And some of them are just taking diligent notes because they're writing and learning how to write.
Hmm.
But it's like, hey, if you want to be part of it, there you are. And again, you can see it on my commercial where
Yes.
yeah, there's like 20 plus of us all on the page and everything. And yeah, we're just having this conversation. And it's like, okay, great. You this is your chance to
Hmm.
do it and be part of it. Ask Bendis direct questions, and yeah, I think it's valuable. So Brian is very kind to involve me,
Yes.
and it's made a difference. It really has made a difference in terms of membership. My members. I mean, I don't even have 1,000 patrons yet,
Hmm.
but I did get a significant like 200 person jump
That's
having
nice.
offering the book club and the
Yes.
magazine in
Hmm.
addition to just supporting. God bless the people that truly are just like, hey, we like what you do. We know it's not that it's costing you time and money. We want to help you. And
Hmm.
that is such a great thing about people in general. And even in the face of some of the selfishness and
Hmm.
arrogance and anger that is out there, how cool is it that people give a damn enough? I'm internally grateful to you and all of my patrons and really all my listeners in general
Hmm.
because again, there are a million other entertainment options out there.
Hmm.
And it's very nice for the few thousand of you that are like, "No, I like what you do. I'm going to keep listening." And even go that one step further. "Hey, I could spare $3 a month.
Hmm.
What the hell?" And those who spend more and some spend, 5 and $10 a month. So,
Yeah, and it's whatever they can afford. And
absolutely.
the other thing I love about, you know, um, the Patreon pages. like I said, you have your monthly magazine. You select, it's not gonna be all the interviews you did for that month, but
No.
it's just the certain key ones. And like you said, it's not just word for word transcribed. It's you clean it up a little bit more and
Oh
just
yeah.
you
Yeah, I
know,
have to. Again, it's got to be readable.
yeah,
And I've got again some of my comic creator friends, like my buddy Paul Kupperberg, who's a few years older.
yes,
He's been putting out his interview books, and I'm like, hey, tell me what you think. And he's been kind and he's been positive. And also, again, just like podcasting, I'm not afraid of other people that are doing what I do because we're all individuals and we all have a different point of view, just as
hmm
people.
yes,
So my interview with Brubaker is going to be different than a guy like Dave Harper out of
hmm
Alaska and his wonderful off panel podcast. He's a
hmm
great interviewer, another fantastic podcaster. But I'm never fearful of covering the same things.
hmm
I purposely don't listen to a lot of other podcasts
hmm
because I don't want to be influenced by
yes,
what they're doing. But again, it's like, hey, there's plenty of room in the pool. Jump in.
yeah.
So again, if you've got a point of view and you feel it's not being covered by a podcast and you want to do it, I say go for it.
Oh, that's good. That's very good, John. John, how are you okay with time?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, I want to talk. Let me see. I just want to make sure.
Whatever you want, Chase.
Let's talk about your YouTube page
Okay.
because because I know you have your YouTube page and I know you mentioned like early on, like when you started, and I think one of your earliest YouTube videos, like, for about 10 minutes, you had some short interviews at conventions and stuff. Um, During those early days,
Hmm.
was it just you and did you have to bring your own equipment, set it up, and what was that like?
Well, I had a friend at the time who it was an amateur photographer and videographer, and she would help me out
Hmm.
with a lot of those initial interviews, especially from like 2014, 2015. I just posted a one. I've been cleaning out my external hard drives, and I noticed that one. I'm like, oh, that was a good talk with Jimmy Palmiotti while he was signing at his table. I stopped doing them at the conventions
Hmm.
because everybody does their interviews at conventions.
Yes.
And it was twofold. First of all, I'm like, well, I would rather have an hour long interview. And even those who are camera shy are like, can we just do audio?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
yeah, that's what drives it. But when I started, and actually even prior to that, you could only put 10 minutes of video at a time on YouTube for a long time
Mm-hmm.
until they finally made it that, just
Whatever.
regular
Yeah.
people can put up as long of a video as they want to or
Yeah.
whatever. And so that was great.
Hmm.
But also, like I said, the convention thing, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want, and the opportunity really came during the pandemic where I'm like, all right, everybody's stuck at home,
Hmm.
all bored out of our minds. We're all
Hmm.
just sitting around. Hell, you remember there was those first couple months of the pandemic, there was pencils down where
Yes.
Diamond shut down for 2 months.
Yeah.
So books were not getting out there. Therefore, the publishers were telling their creators, don't generate any new work because we got nowhere to throw them out other than digitally. And that's not enough to cover our nuts. So we got to
Hmm.
wait for Diamond to come back. And that's where we saw the great exodus from Diamond
Hmm. Yes.
and now all their alternative distribution arenas and things. But I'm like, all right, I know again, having my career in broadcasting, I know what I'm doing. Let me
Hmm.
start Word Balloon, and I just started. I built some video intros and things pre AI. Everybody,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
very proud of that fact. That because every now and then now people are like, yeah, that opening is that AI? No, it's me. I made
yes.
that, and it's like again, I learned my video skills, and and I continue to do that. So I'm not afraid of AI as a tool.
Hmm.
I don't want it to replace writers or artists, certainly,
Yes. Hmm.
and that is a legitimate concern. But I will allow it to help me in an assistant capacity
Hmm.
or some other ways. But again, no, I am the creative person behind this.
Hmm.
The artificial intelligence might be assisting me, but these are my creations,
Yes.
and I stand by that. And also the artists that were generous enough to generate my Word Balloon logo
Yes.
or some of the other things,
Hmm.
I have talked to them and said, I would like to use your images. I will be making a video with that, but I felt it necessary to let you know this is what I'm doing. And they understood and they agreed.
Hmm.
And that's great. But I will never do a Spider-Man AI generated video
Yeah.
or image when I know that I can get an artist to do it.
Yeah. No, and yes, it's better to get the artist to do it.
Of
Like that's
course,
like so, and
but
I'm
they're
sure,
busy.
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. They're very sweet about, hey
Mm.
man, we'll make whatever you want. Yeah, but you got to make your stuff to make your money.
Yeah, and
And also I just feel like I don't want to obligate you. I
mhm.
mean, literally, it's people like my buddy Franco and my buddy
Mm.
Scott
Yes.
McMahon because they podcast with me.
Hmm.
So I help promote their products.
Hmm.
So we've got the and that honestly, the majority of the writers and artists out there see that as the relationship with me,
Hmm.
and especially the ones that have become my friends.
Hmm.
And it's like, you're helping me sell books. Let me help you with what you do.
Yes.
And that's great. And again, that's the generosity and human spirit that you can experience on the good side of the comic book people.
And the other thing I was going to mention too is that I know you're kind of going, dude, I know you're busy, but if you can't do it, no, no, John, I'll do it because it gives them that little break from,
Yeah, you're right
just
about,
the,
having to draw the panels that they do
you know,
for their stuff, and then hey, I'm actually asking for something fun. I know that Franco and Scott, in particular, Scoot is what we call
hmm.
Scott. That's his nickname. Scoot Comics, everybody. One of
Hmm.
the best independent artists out there, and ridiculously fast. He and Franco and Art Balthazar, all three of those guys, they are lightning fast and are giving you book quality art every
Hmm.
time, and it really means a lot. So if you see, and in fact, we do the Oh Yeah podcast together,
Hmm.
where that's our fuck around show where we're
Yes.
just bullshitting, and we had a great thing about my hair, and it led to a jag about Popeye, the Robert Altman movie,
Oh
because
God.
Artie said, he always makes fun because especially in the '80s, I threw up a picture of me in the '80s, and I had a serious helmet hairdo. I mean, I had tons of hair, and
Hmm.
and he goes, "What kind of voice does your hair have? I bet your hair talks to you." And I said, "It's good and it's kind and it sounds like Abe Lincoln." Because that's a line from Popeye that Rob Williams says to his father, to
Yeah.
Pappy, and he's like, "My dad is tall and kind and looks like Abe Lincoln." So all of a sudden, Scoot's like, "I love that movie," and of course, all of us that were older, we hated Popeye
Yes, because
because
yeah,
it's slow and it's
it,
just like, I mean, I love Robert Altman, he's a genius, and of course Robin
but
Williams, great casting,
it wasn't.
but there was no speed to the movie. It was too slow.
Yeah, I remember the movie. That's why when you said Popeye, I was like, yeah, it's like,
Ugh.
okay. Yeah.
I know, man. I know. And that's the other thing, again, showing our age. But anytime any sort of comic strip or comic book property, even those lame, do you remember from I guess they were the 70s, those NBC specials of like they had a superhero roast and Adam
Oh
West
my,
and Burt
I'm
Ward
going to
were on
say, I'm going to say yes. I remember seeing it being promoted. The thing is, of course, one TV,
Sure.
me and my
Yeah.
sister, and then you got my mom,
Yeah.
and it's like, I
Yeah.
guess I'm
Good
not
luck.
watching that tonight.
Exactly. No, I get it.
But no, I
Absolutely.
know.
So as lame as those things were, we were thrilled
Yes.
because again, it's like, oh my God, I mean, especially on both of them, they had Adam West and Burt Ward back 10 years after Batman. And
Yes.
it's like, this is great, but they're terrible. They're lame as
Oh
hell.
yeah.
And I met Charlie Callis, this comedian. He
Oh
did
yes.
Sinestro.
Yes. I
And
know
I
who.
and he was a comedian and he had a stand-up routine. And he was coming to one of the local casinos here in Chicago. And we had him on our sports station. And I said, yeah, your movies, your TV, yeah, you're doing your
Yeah.
stand up. I go, tell me about Sinestro. And he had giant bug eyes, bulging eyes.
See?
And his eyes got even bigger. And he nudged his assistant, goes, see? And he goes, I was waiting for you. He goes, there's one guy in every city that saw those things, and you're the guy. And I'm like, yes, it's true. I said, Charlie, I go, I don't know if you ever saw the comic book, but it was perfect casting. You
It's
look like a Gil Kane Sinestro, for better or
mhm.
worse. And he did. So, yeah, it was fun.
And I know who you're talking about because he always did that thing with his mouth, like, yeah,
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 exactly. All the crazy,
yeah,
he'd always make the crazy sound effects. So
yes.
yeah, it was fun that he was Green Lantern's enemy in this thing. It was pretty cool.
Or
So
the one I still remember is Doctor Strange from the 70s. The movie.
sure.
It was like holy because it was and my mom used to read comics
Oh, that's
and
great.
she wanted to watch the Doctor Strange movie. And I was like, holy cow. And it's like, this is so cool. It was weird, but holy cow. Jessica
Absolutely.
Walters.
Yes, Jessica Walters is Morgan Le Fay in it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Has Reb Brown, 70s Captain America, has he ever done the Hawaii conventions yet?
No, I'm going to say no, he hasn't.
Okay, that's a shame because he did the Connecticut show that my buddy Mitch does at Terrificon.
Yes, Terrificon, yes.
Great association that I have with Terrificon, and Mitch has been incredibly kind, giving me access to a lot of great people. That's how I got to interview Billy D. Williams and also Reb Brown, Captain America.
Yes.
And I met him face to face after interviewing him on the phone or through Skype or whatever we did through back then. But I told him, I said, "Hey man, you got a raw deal because the writing for those two TV Captain America movies is not great,
Hmm.
but you were great,
Yes.
and I could not think of a better '70s actor that should have been cast as Steve Rogers." Because you're a big son of a bitch. I mean,
Hmm.
giant guy. And
Hmm.
it's like, no, you look like you got the super soldier formula.
It's, yeah.
And, he's in his 70s already, and he gets up from his table and he walks around and he hugs me. And
That's
I'm like, that's all right, big fella. Yeah.
But it's kind of sad because like those TV
Yes.
it was whatever, it was a product of its time.
Yes.
It was written and made by people who really didn't know the comics. All they kept going was Captain America. Let's give him a motorcycle. His shield.
The costume looking like an
Oh,
Evil Knievel costume
yeah,
rather than the traditional one in the
you're
first
right.
movie. Oh,
Because
yeah.
because Evil Knievel was doing his crazy stunts during the time,
You
maybe a
got it.
year or two before Captain America came out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and also, even later into the 90s, the attempts at doing, after the success of Batman, we got that Flash show with John Wesley Shipp on
Yes.
CBS. And it's a shame, but I don't know why, because they had the demographics. The thing that killed Star Trek back in the 60s was they didn't break down audiences demographically, where
Hmm.
they could go, all right, people 45 and older aren't watching our show, but we got the college audience and we got the kid audience. And
Yes.
that's significant. We should keep this show on the air. Well, literally, that kind of breakdown of an audience didn't start happening until after Star Trek was off the air.
Yes.
So those numbers were available in the 90s, but the major networks to ask them to put on a comic book show was too much of an ask. I mean, it happened with Supergirl that first season
Hmm.
being on CBS, and thank God the CW's like, oh, we'll take it.
Yeah.
And we got another 5 seasons out of it. We got 6 seasons.
Yes.
But I mean, that's the thing. Anytime the Constantine show that NBC tried to
Yes.
do,
That was.
it was a quality show, but again, it wasn't enough for what the four major networks represented then. Now it's a
Yeah.
different TV world now, and streaming has certainly made its impact.
Hmm.
For better and for worse, I would say both, frankly.
Yeah.
But that said, it's I don't think, and also the other various superhero shows that they've tried to do from the late '90s. The Heroes on NBC got
Oh,
screwed
yes.
by the writer's strike
Yeah.
from back in 2007, and it lost momentum
Yes.
because of that. But that's the thing, man. We've had these start and stop moments for whatever reasons, and now on the good side of streaming, they're very happy if you've got an audience of 700,000 people watching,
Hmm.
and that okay, that's enough to sustain a streaming show
Hmm.
because you're also paying for it with your subscription. Um, but I also know that again, we're only getting 10 episodes a season,
Hmm.
or in the case of Star Trek, they're spending money on special effects and the writing sucks. And it's
Hmm.
like maybe you can spend a little bit more money and get better writers,
Yeah.
and not just hire your friends who've never written science fiction before,
Hmm.
and it's painfully obvious. Oh, there's an anomaly. What does that mean? I don't know, but I've heard it on a sci-fi show. So it's an anomaly. Okay, great.
Or
Idiots.
the repeated dialogue of it's an anomaly. I've never seen that before.
Exactly.
We've heard this how many times? Stop
in
that.
the Starfleet Academy, I hate to be a nitpicker. In the trailer that was really, or the scene they released the
I
scene
know
of the
what you-
Brazilian
okay, yeah.
convention, and Robert Picardo, the Doctor, who I've loved him
Yes.
since Voyager, but they gave him the line, "What's the status of everybody, Doctor? There have been several injuries, but no casualties." casualties, injuries are casualties.
Yes, that's, yeah.
But again, you're asking some idiot writer that
Mhm.
doesn't own a dictionary, and there's no top voice to go, hey, wait a minute, are we sure about that? Can we look up that definition? No, but or like you said, an anomaly. What's that? And it's like, okay, again, you're simplifying. They're just dumbing down the product.
Yeah.
And I understand to a degree, but I used to like television that would challenge you and
Hmm.
make you like that great episode of Next Generation where Scotty showed up and they had the Dyson sphere.
Yes.
And they explain what a Dyson sphere is, but that's a real theory.
It's a yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's really interesting. Or I'll even give credit to the modern writers, that Star Trek Con podcast.
Hmm.
Um, and I never knew this was a real thing. But in Star Trek Two, The Wrath of Khan, they have the little worms that crawl in their
Yeah.
ears and mind control
Yeah,
them and stuff.
the city eels, yeah.
Right, the SETI eels, exactly. Well, in the podcast, they have it that Khan and his people were aware of this, but a couple of his scientists figured out a way of having the eels ingest these little particles of glass that you could find in common sand,
Uh-huh.
and that it would, because they ate it, it would kind of destroy them from within, and like like their digestive system would basically kill them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's real. And I was talking to David Mack, the co-writer of Star Trek
Yes.
Con, and he's
Hmm.
like, no, that's real. He goes, in fact, that's what they use to kill bed bugs. And it's like, who the fuck knew? But it's like, yeah, that's the kind of writing we want in science
Yes.
fiction.
Yeah.
Teach us something, not just look. There's something strange in the air. I learned a new word. It's anomaly. Ooh, aren't I smart? No, you're not really. Sorry. But anyway, as you know, I'll spend 2 hours on Star Trek and watch
I know, I know.
and
Well,
another thing.
yeah, it's two old guys now yelling at the clouds.
Goddamn right.
Shaking our fists to the
In my
clouds.
day, we learned something from our science fiction. They
I'm
forgot about the science, and all they give us is the fiction, and it's crap. Sad but true.
Oh my God, John. I'm gonna have you come back 20 years from now when you're 81
When I
and
grow
I'm
into
like,
that voice.
we are gonna be around and we're gonna be the two old guys going, back in my day, you'd be like
Yeah.
Chicago, back in my day, I had to walk in 20 feet of snow to get to my
Exactly.
comic shop. And I'll be like, hey, back in my day, I had to walk in 20 feet of hot sand.
We had to watch out for lava. Gotta make it Hawaiian, man. Absolutely, man.
I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm with you. I had to go through 3 pineapple orchards before I got to, if they are orchards, I don't even know. What do they call a field of pineapples?
Oh God, I don't.
All right, don't
I
worry
just
about it.
say
Forgive me.
field.
Forgive me, Jason. I don't mean to reduce you to knowing your pineapples. I certainly can't tell you about the Illinois cardinal, our state bird. Why the hell would you know about the pineapple industry? I apologize.
All I just eat is pineapple. Yes.
You're Hawaiian. You should know this. Come on. Not kidding.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to your YouTube page. Promote your YouTube page because, like you said,
Sure.
you have some,
Yeah.
some videos from 2009 and stuff, and then you've during the pandemic you expanded it to, like to do recording videos of your interviews and so forth, but also to I'm going to say I'm just going to just ask, feel free because you started to recently put this on. It's the Siuntres family history videos.
Yeah. My aunt, my dad's older sister, my mom, and again, I'm fine. Don't. It's okay. You can say I'm sorry because everyone feels because they're polite. My mom passed away when I was 5, and my dad remarried. But
Mhm.
my aunt, his older sister, always treated me like one of her kids, and she
Oh,
was very
nice.
protective of
Hmm.
me and really was a surrogate mother to me. She made it to 98.
Hmm.
And when she was in her late 80s, early 90s, because I don't remember which specific year I started with her doing this, but it occurred to me because I would sit and, typical family, where do we come from?
Hmm.
What is our family history? We were all curious. And there are very funny and great stories about my family that date even earlier than 1900. I mean, my grandfather bought the house that in Chicago for my father. Well, they weren't born yet, but he bought the house in 1900. My aunt was born in 1920. My
Hmm.
father
Yes.
in 27. There was a middle sister that I think was 1923, and my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side, they were immigrants from Greece.
Yes.
We know the history. Unfortunately, I don't know as much about my mother's side of the family. I need to work on that with my older cousins that know the stories they do. But all of them, my mother's brother and sister have passed away. All of my father's siblings and my father have passed away. So, and had by the time I started doing these videos with my aunt. Her name is Anita,
Hmm.
and she's a character, but she has the family history. And
Hmm.
like for instance, one nugget of my family history, my grandmother on my father's side came to America because her older brother settled in Chicago and became a silent screen projectionist in the infancy of silent movies. This is pre-Hollywood. This is when movies were only made on the East Coast and in Chicago. And even Charlie Chaplin in 1915 made movies for a year or two in Chicago. And it's fascinating. And that's how he raised the money to bring his sister over. So I tell my screenwriter and broadcast television writing friends, my family was in the business when all we had was silent movies and Nickelodeons and things like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love that, Colonel. Or just these other crazy. I mean, it's your classic immigrant story. We all have it. How many of us are true Native Americans, or even I'll grant you a Yankee that can trace their family back to the Mayflower? No, a lot of us were immigrants that came
Yeah.
over. That's why I am pro-immigration.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
again, the current administration is being assholes about some of
Yes.
this. But regardless, Anita has all these great stories, and they lived through the Depression. They lived through
Yes.
World War II. She
Yes.
went to work for the telephone company making telephones, and then the war broke out, and she was making components for radar. And so, and it was so cute when she was in her 80s, she went to see a presentation of a woman that acted out being a Rosie the Riveter,
Hmm.
a woman that had to work in a factory during World War II. And it suddenly clicked with her, and she raised her hand. She said, "You know, I made radar components for the war. I mean, it wasn't, I wasn't riveting anything, but
Hmm.
am I right? It wasn't I a Rosie the Riveter?" And of course, it was like, "Yes, of course." And the whole audience like burst out into applause, and she was so proud. And it's like, because her husband was in Guadalcanal in World War II. My dad just missed the war, started training potentially for the land invasion of Japan, and the bomb dropped, so they didn't need the land invasion. So instead, in 46, he went to Germany and was part of the occupying Allied
Hmm.
forces in Germany, putting Germany back on its feet. But if you ever see the classic Orson Welles movie, The Third Man, it's
Okay.
all about that period in the black market. And my dad had to deal with all that stuff.
Oh.
So he would sit us down and watch The Third Man with him and like, "You want to know what I did in the army? I did this. I was an MP going after black marketeers that were, on the one hand, getting goods to
Mhm.
citizens, but on the other hand, fake penicillin and sadly, like things that people needed, there were lousy people that were taking advantage of it
Mhm.
and really screwing people over. And those are the people my dad went after and stuff. So fascinating family history. Again, that I mean, she was even talking about her grandmother
Mhm.
and stuff, and so that was going back into the later 1800s. I mean, yeah, it's this amazing thing. And they were on my external hard drives. I just did it for the family and
Mhm.
also to make it accessible for the family, rather just, coming up with a projector and showing old home movies.
Yeah.
I put it on
Yes.
YouTube. And
Yeah.
I also have a family vacation that my parents and my sister made the year I was born. I wasn't born yet,
Mhm.
like 9 months before. I have a feeling I was conceived on this trip, but they went to the Playboy Club in the Bahamas,
Mhm.
and it's fantastic and it's great, and like all this great footage of, and they took my grandparents as well, and it was so cute. So yeah, I just love that. So yeah, all that stuff is on the Word Balloon channel as well. And in fact, a guy made a documentary about this amusement park in the 80s that had a Playboy Club next to it, and
Mhm.
he said, "Hey, can I use your Playboy Club footage?" And I said, he goes, "I can't pay you." And I said, "Just give me a credit in the movie."
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
have an additional footage provided by Credit. It's called Class Action Park, I believe is what it's called. It was on HBO Max and may
Oh,
still
okay.
be. And it's really funny because it's a crazy movie because it's about this water park that was built in New Jersey
I know what
and
you're
had
talking
no
about.
Yes, had no safety
Yes.
concerns whatsoever. And they'd have the kid counselors or workers test out the rides. And
Yes.
these were the most unsafe rides you've
Yeah.
ever heard of. It's
Yes.
crazy. And yeah, so my footage is in this documentary, which is just hilarious. So yeah, I love it. Um, but yeah, and again, I was going to say, Word Balloon has afforded me the opportunity to do some on-camera stuff that I
Hmm.
wasn't getting in my broadcast career. I'm on the television show Prophets of Science Fiction,
Yes.
and I'm there as one of the talking heads,
Hmm.
talking about Isaac Asimov and Jules Verne and George Lucas. I just did the Alex Ross Legend of Kingdom Come documentary, and I'm one of the talking heads in there.
Hmm.
So that's the thing, man. I mean, beyond the podcast is afforded these other platform
Hmm.
opportunities to get notoriety of what I'm doing, and it's been great.
Hmm. John, I'm going to say, just thank you for sharing that, no, your family history, the
Yeah,
videos,
yeah.
because that is really nice. It's,
Thanks, man.
it is, it's really
Well,
nice.
when I get more time, I have a feeling I'll add some music and some visuals to
Hmm.
show where the Western Union or Western Electric
Hmm.
Company before it was Illinois Bell, the Bell Company. That's where they made the telephones or locations where
Hmm.
the buildings were and stuff. Because also, my younger cousins are having children and they're all young kids. And so these old people have been dead for years.
Hmm.
And it's like, I want them to know their family history. I think it's
Yes.
important. And it's really important to know. Again, how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you came from?
Hmm.
I really believe in that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's I wanted to do it, and my aunt really got into it, which was so sweet.
Hmm.
And you could even see because I really have just strung together the 5 minutes here, the 10 minutes there, and she'd be like, "All right, that's enough. Stop now. I got to collect my thoughts." Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
And then we pick it up again. And no, again, they're funny. And again, they're really not unique per se. There are moments that are unique and ridiculously funny and interesting, and even some that tie to Chicago, real Chicago history.
Hmm.
Because there was a wonderful woman named Jamie Adams who had this immigrant program of acclimating the fresh off the boat people to
Which,
the
yeah,
American way.
I think,
And she
yeah.
was this really
Hmm.
philanthropic, wonderful woman.
Hmm.
And I remember watching this public television special about her with my sister, and my dad walking by and seeing the TV and go, "Hey, look, there's Miss Adams. She taught me how to dance," and walks out of the room. And we're like, "Wait a minute, she's like a historical figure. There's a highway in Chicago named the Jane Addams
Yeah.
Tollway, and she is a very important earliest 20th century
Yeah.
figure." And it's like, "Oh, that was the nice lady that taught me how to dance, and we used to play games at her house." Okay, oh, that's George Washington. I helped him chop down a tree once. Sure, you did that. That's great. Insane. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's fun for the family, and it's been very nice. A handful of the Word Balloon people have kind of watched it and gone, "Oh, that's kind of neat, man." And I'm like, "Hey, that's my family background, man." And again, mom and dad died young. Didn't get
Hmm.
to see my broadcast career, but the aunts and uncles did, and
Hmm.
they really appreciated what I was able to do. And it's like, I mean, and again, I don't. If there is an afterlife, I think they're aware of what I did, and
Yes.
it'll be
Hmm.
nice when I join them eventually, when
Oh,
I
yeah.
slip off this mortal coil, as they say, when I join them in Valhalla, the Hall
Yes.
for Heroes.
Well, but the other thing I was going to also mention too, John, was that it's nice because I'm sure when you go back to the conventions and stuff, and when you see fans, they're going to go, you know, my grandmother, I saw your video, my grandmother all, or did this, or and
Yeah.
it's beyond the creator content,
Yes.
you can relate to them on a different level.
Sure. No, you're right about that. And again, I don't know if I'll release the audio. If I did, I'd certainly tighten it up.
Uh-huh.
There's one more bit that I've been killing myself trying to get the static off the line. I don't know what happened to my iPhone that day, but there's just, I mean, it's loud enough that you can hear her, but other than the family, I've been kind of gun shy putting it out, but I will,
Hmm.
and it'll be there if people want. But I'll put up a little sign or something saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, there's static. Sorry,
Yeah.
whatever." But
Hmm.
again, the stories are great. It's really the intent was really to be something for the family
Yes.
and my cousins that are older that are in their mid 70s now. I'm like, hey, you got the rest of the stories.
Hmm.
Whatever we didn't cover, you got to cover that information.
Hmm.
because that's there for your grandchildren because they have grandchildren now.
Yes.
And it's like, no, it's for them, man.
Hmm.
That's why you got to do it. And that's what I told Anita, my aunt, because she's like, ah, and I'm like, no, this because she had grandchildren at the time
Hmm.
that were little kids, and I'm like, no, this is for them when they can really get it.
Yes.
And now those kids are in their 30s and 40s,
Yeah.
so that's good.
And then they can share it with their children too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But thank you, man. I appreciate you acknowledging it and noticing it.
Oh no, because it was very nice. And like I love it because she was a character,
Oh yeah.
and it was so cool to hear her. He goes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, you ask her, can you say your name in Greek?
Yes.
That was so cool.
Yes. Well,
And I
again, man,
love,
because we're so Americanized, they don't go to Greek school. I mean, I think I was the last generation
mhm.
that I was asked to go to Greek school, but then thankfully my parents were modern enough to, if you don't want to do this, I'm like, yeah, goodbye. See
Yeah,
ya.
yeah.
I mean, it's cutting into my time with my non-Greek friends or whatever.
Hmm.
And again, I'm very proud to be part of the American culture.
Hmm.
And it took me a while to really get proud of my Greek heritage.
Hmm.
I wasn't ashamed of it or anything like that. I'm just like, hey, I'm an American. I don't give a damn about what happened
No,
before.
yeah.
But as you get older, you appreciate that stuff more. And I have to say, and I think it helps me when I interview the older creators. I don't treat them as grandpa. They
Yes.
are just people that have more experience than me. And it's just another guy. I mean, really, a lot of my creator friends in their 70s, Paul Kupperberg, Mike
Hmm.
Gold,
Hmm.
people like that I do consider friends of mine. They're just friends of mine they've got a decade or so on me.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're people. And I used to treat Anita the same way, my aunt.
Hmm.
And like, especially near the end, yeah. All right, come on, Anita, it's time for lunch. Yeah, fuck that. No. And I mean, I'd tease her. I'd call her Mrs. Roosevelt, like Eleanor Roosevelt, Mrs. Kennedy, because Rose Kennedy, the Kennedy mother, like made it to her hundreds. And I used to tease, you're too cruel to die, Anita. Shit like that. And she'd laugh her ass off. And my sister, would, don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I'm like, no, look at her face. She loves it. And she
No,
did. I'd fuck around with her and I'd tease her.
it's
And it's like, hey, don't, I know you're old and I know you're slipping a little bit, but that's okay.
yeah.
Don't worry. It's me. You can talk to me. Cut the bullshit. I'm not going to treat you like a baby.
Yeah.
You deserve respect till the end. And
Hmm.
that's what I tried to give her. So,
John, just thank you for sharing that. Just, with your family,
oh,
about your
Chase.
auntie, just,
Means a lot, man. Means a lot that you asked me about it, truly.
you know. John, I'm gonna start wrapping things up because I
Sure.
realize we're almost 2 hours and I don't
Oh
want to
no, I
keep
know,
you
man.
too
It's cool.
long.
No, I knew again, yeah, that's you can't shut me up, Jason. There's too many
No,
tangents, too
no,
much
so
shit to
listen,
cover, son.
no. So listeners, let's put it because I remember because when I first listened to John's podcast, I think when the new 52 came out, because listeners, because I still remember those word balloons that were 3 hours long. Yeah.
I used to do that on purpose because I felt it would afford the lesser creators a platform where they might get more ears if
Yes.
it's sandwiched between Jeff Johns and Mark Wade, for
Yeah.
example, another good friend of mine. And I'm like, so I was doing it that way. Now I think it's better to treat Word Balloon in general as like a daily magazine.
Hmm.
And if you want to read today's article and it's about somebody that you've never heard of, like yesterday, I talked to Anthony Snyder, the comic book dealer.
Hmm.
He's the son of Jimmy the Greek, which is fascinating. So he's got, yeah, dude. If you again, I just put it out today, so check that out.
Yes.
It's great because he talks about his dad and where betting has gone from in the '70s when he had to use code words to talk about gambling because it was on network TV,
Yes.
and now literally there are gambling parlors in the stadiums.
Hmm.
The hypocrisy, and I get it, it's money and it's
Yes.
always about money, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm not an idiot, but it is interesting. But Anthony may not be, again, if you really just want to hear comic creator
Hmm.
interviews, that may not be your thing. I'm talking to Ed Cato tonight, the editor of Retro Fan magazine
Hmm.
that
Yes.
covers a lot of pop culture stuff including comics. His
Hmm.
cover stories about Adam West and the history of Adam West. It's fantastic.
Nice.
um so yeah, they mean, but later this week I'm talking to I want to say his name's Jose Trujillo, and he's going to do for Marvel, comes out in February, the Fantastic Four meets Planet of the Apes.
Oh my God!
It's great.
Wow,
They sent me an advanced copy because Marvel's sweet that way. And
it's
yeah, so I'll
amazing.
keep it spoiler free, but it's fun. It's gonna be a fun story. And I've loved over the years when they've done, Star Trek meets the Green Lantern
Yes. Hmm.
Corps, or Doctor Who meets Star Trek, or
Yeah.
whatever. I love, or the Hanna-Barbera characters with the DC characters.
Yes. Hmm.
I love shit like that. So that's always fun to talk about. But yeah, I got a couple of comic book things I'll do this week. And now with the holidays, it's kind of hard to, pin
Yeah. Oh
people
yeah.
down for a
Yeah.
talk. So that's why I'm happy to kind of stray
Yeah.
from, and again, I also want to reestablish that, no, I'm here to talk about 20th century pop culture and
Yeah.
things beyond comics. And that's why Anthony is a comic book dealer. And we certainly
Mhm.
talked about that a lot as well. But no, the first half hour is about Jimmy the Greek because I think he was a fascinating 20th
Yes.
century character,
Yes.
and I think is the father of what we're dealing with today with sports gambling, for better or
Mm.
for worse.
Hmm. You've already mentioned what you have.
Coming
Um,
up, yeah.
yeah, what you got come up. I'm gonna ask. You know, over the last 20 years, what is the most fun or exciting thing or things that you love doing about Ward Balloon?
Well, what I love is that I have had a ringside seat for the evolution of both comic books as a medium, but
Hmm.
also the fandom and the way that
Yes.
they are marketed and the way that the fandom has gotten involved. And truly, this whole digital boom and again, there's a lot worse involved. There's a lot of haters out there.
Hmm.
There's a lot of other negative things, but I look at the positive things. And I think it has only made a stronger connection between the people that are in the hobby as fans
Hmm.
and the creators as well. And everyone has had to evolve. Crowdfunding has been an amazing thing for creators
Yes.
and for fans because now they don't need to go to an editor or a publisher and say, I want to make X.
Hmm.
They can make their passion projects on their own, and
Yes.
the audience will follow them.
Hmm.
That's an interesting
Yes.
evolution. I also like talking about the past because, again, I think there are 20 somethings out there that didn't know how screwed Siegel and Schuster got in
Hmm.
the 40s with the ownership of Superman,
Yeah.
or just even the fun parts of the history. So I really appreciate having those people on as well. And it just gives me this broad opportunity to really cover comics as a culture and as a hobby and as this very important 20th century thing that we all enjoy. But again, I think it's really an important part of Americana. But even
Hmm.
internationally, it's fun to talk to the international people. So I am constantly surprised, entertained, and enjoy the interviews that I do
Hmm.
and the things that I learn. I am always learning. I have a feeling I will continue to learn until my dying day. And
Hmm.
this really affords me the platform to share what I'm learning with the audience. We're all learning it at the same time. And
That's
I'm
true.
just the guy that's getting out of the way and letting these people tell their stories.
Mhm. Where would you like to see Word Balloon 5 years from now?
Where it is now. I mean, again, I won't deny more listeners,
Hmm.
more viewers,
Hmm.
but I'm doing the show that I've always wanted to do. And I'm not afraid, again, of straying from the occasional boxing interview that I may still want to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or I just had, Mark Malkoff on, who wrote this fantastic biography of Johnny Carson, and we did a Carson history, and that was wonderful to release again because I want to talk about pop culture things. Listen, man, I my one thing that I am fighting against is ageism,
Hmm.
and especially someone now who is firmly in their 60s at
Yes. Hmm.
61. And it is easy to dismiss the older generations of, yeah, they had their time. Now it's our time. It's everybody's time.
That's true.
And I can't underline that enough. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's fine. I don't expect a 12-year-old to get anything out of what I'm putting out there.
Hmm.
It's not for you. Just like when you say, okay, boomer or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. You got your programming. This is my programming. I
Yes.
say this as the oldest Gen Xer out there.
Hmm.
Gen X supposedly started in January of 65. I'm December of 64. And I
Hmm.
think I'm too old to be a boomer, or too young to be a boomer and too old to be a Gen Xer. But I will take and in fact, the New York Times this weekend had a fantastic story about Gen X. And now they're saying 1961 is the start of Gen X. So I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that.
Hmm.
Obama was born in 61, and I
Hmm.
consider him a Gen X president. So yeah, it's like, all right. But yeah, man, again, I really believe that there's programming for my generation. Now,
Yes.
that doesn't mean that people that are decades younger can't enjoy it if they're
Yeah.
curious. Just
Yeah.
like we were curious about the movies from the 30s and 40s and even the silent movies. So
Yes.
there's an audience for it. That is my goal, is to be a voice out there saying this shit from the 20th century is cool. You shouldn't forget about it.
Yes.
And this current shit is cool. You should pay attention to
Yes. All right. You've already talked about one of your guests coming on later this week that's going to do the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four Planet of the Apes crossover in 2026. What other what do you have any big plans that you can talk about for next year? Like,
Sure. I'd like to, I hope to be done with the book and have the Kickstarter up and running before this time in 26.
okay.
I would like to get in the rhythm of perhaps releasing them as almost like annuals, like
Yes.
comic book annuals.
Oh, yeah.
Because a good friend of mine is like, "Do you have enough material for a book?" And I'm like, "Well, I got a couple thousand interviews. I have enough material for a couple hundred books."
Mm-hmm.
Not really, but you know what I mean. Certainly the significant ones. And
Yes.
I mean, and the thing that kept me from doing this forever was thinking about just one book. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. But oh, I want that Neil Adams interview. Oh, I want that Denny O'Neil interview. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
want X. I want Y. And it's like, I couldn't decide. So finally, I'm like, all right, relax, put out one, and let's get in the rhythm of putting out more.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of historical interviews like Gene Colan and Denny O'Neil and Neil
Yes.
Adams.
Mm-hmm.
If Neil Adams' family will let me do it, I don't know. They could
Mm.
they kind of want to own everything. But
Mm.
I really don't know. And also
Yeah.
I was kind of stupid. And here's another tip for you youngsters. Make sure you get releases out there. I mean, the people that I'm going to feature in the book, I know will be cool about it, but I am going to keep everything legal and go, I'm using your interview. I'm going to
Yeah.
make a book out
You
of it.
got it.
Just
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So no, that I would say as far as immediate plans for 26, it's working on the book,
Mm-hmm.
seeing other ways that I can evolve the show as it occurs to me, and yeah, just that kind of thing. But essentially, doing what I've been doing,
Yeah.
really since 2005 in May when I started this thing 20 years ago.
Last question. Any closing words to our listeners?
Again, I'm glad that you're part of the hobby. I'm glad that you want to appreciate what Jason and the guys are doing on their podcast. If you listen to mine, that's or watch mine, that's great. I thank you for all that. And again, isn't what we love so cool that it is worth getting into beyond the monthly magazine and
Mhm.
really enjoying it and having a place as we do now in the digital platform that we can think about it and talk about it and be entertained by it
Yes.
beyond what the publishers are putting out every month. So, like I said, I'm on the ride with everybody else, and thank you to those of you like Jason that have been on it for more than 10 years, if not 20 years. And I know there are people out there that have been like that. So it means a lot that you're paying attention. Thank you.
John, mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Just thank you for giving me another opportunity to interview. I just gotta be honest. It's it's been an honor talking to you. I know I've interviewed you in the past, but like I've always said, is that you are the gold standard in comic book interviews, pop culture interviews for podcasting. You know, um, I gotta say this story is that early on, I think, like I said, when New 52 started, we finally got an iPhone. And I was like, what is this podcast thing? And the other at the same it's like, yeah, it's like, what is this podcasting? And when I was picking up New 52, I'm going, I don't like how Superman looks. He looks like
It's as bad as that.
Monel,
He
the
does look like
costume.
Monel. That's I said the same thing, man.
You know, and the thing was, so I'm trying to, I was like, oh wait, there's the comic book. What's this? Okay, let me hear it. And I picked around a couple things, and it's like, they don't sound. And I stumbled, what's up? And then, John Mayle, the comic book
Oh
page
yeah, I love John.
podcast.
Johnny's a great guy.
Yeah, so I listened to him, and then all of a sudden he mentions, yeah, he mentions John Suntress Warbloom. He interviewed. I'm like, who's this John Suntress? And then I started to listen to yours, and I love it. It's great. It helped me to get through some yard work that I've done. I had to do for
Sure.
two. It's great. But John, like I've always said, that I love your interviews. You make your guests relax. You guys talk story. Yes, they have to promote their work, but the thing is, again, it's like you get to know them. The other thing is what I s- the what I also love about you is that you're humble about this. You're not going, I'm John Siuntres, word balloon. You got no. It's just, hey, you want to talk? That's fine. If not, or hey, if you're busy, just let me know. And
Yeah, you got to be that way, man. No, it's everyone's got their reasons why they're not available or they don't want to do it. I've had big names turn me down from my childhood that I would love to have had conversation with, Bronze Age and post-crisis kind of creators. They're like, no, no, I don't want to do that. I'll even admit John Romita Sr. was like, why would I want to do that? And I'm like, it's all right.
yeah,
And
it's just
and it was
yeah,
Johnny Jr., who's a
yes,
doll and incredibly kind to me. I'll
yes.
get him, John. I'll get him. I'm like, it's your dad, man. Your dad's done enough. Your
Yeah,
dad doesn't need to talk. It's okay. I
go
mean, I'd
force
love
your
it,
dad.
but if they don't want to do it, that's all right. But no,
Yeah,
man, exactly. It's like, and it means a lot that you say that. I get you through. You're raking leaves, mowing the lawn, shoveling snow out here,
yeah.
and or roofers and other people that have mundane jobs and everything. I'll give you a couple hours of entertainment. That's what I try to do.
And that's yeah, and just thank you very much, John.
Thanks,
And
Chase. I'm
just
the interest and attention is always greatly appreciated, as is your patronage and your wonderful gift boxes that you've given me over the years. So thank you for giving a damn about what I'm doing.
I have to send you one. Sorry, last year I
Yeah, not
didn't.
at all.
No, I have to, man. You're gonna get
Relax.
100% pure Kona coffee. So the next
Yes,
time when
please.
you have Jimmy Palmiotti on, you be like drinking that coffee. Oh, yeah, I got this from my friend, the podcaster Jason. Did you meet him in Hawaii?
There you go, man. No, that's great, and that's that. Jason or rather Jimmy told me for years. He's like, you want to get some of the old timers? Give him a bottle of booze or something. Give him a gift, and
Yeah.
he's right. He's right. So
So, um, thank you
what
for
is that?
doing Word Balloon
Yeah,
and congratulations on 20 years, John. And again, we're gonna do well. I'll have you back on when you do the 25th, and we will come back on the
please.
25th
Oh,
one.
that'd be great.
We
Absolutely,
will
Jace.
do that,
Anytime, Jace.
and we're gonna make an appointment when Word Balloon turns 40. We're gonna
Indeed.
come back on
Damn right. 81 years old. I'll be going strong. You're damn right
and
I
I'll be
will.
and I'll be I'll be I'll be 79. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna be shaking our fists to the sky,
Yeah,
and
can
you
you
know what they're
believe
doing
what
to
they're
comics
doing?
nowadays.
Exactly. Can you believe what they're doing to Harley Quinn? I remember when she was brand new. Yep.
Oh, I wish you continued success with the podcast, John. I do. Just again, thank you. You have guests lined up already you for
Yeah.
this week. So, and listeners, and John, I'll be honest, we probably I'm going to shoot to have this put out the week of New Year's Eve.
Oh,
So
great.
just to celebrate, just yeah, it'd be nice
Get
when
in and
it.
yeah. No, no, hey man, thank you for acknowledging the 20th anniversary. It means a lot, man.
No, yeah, and I know I'm stretching as I keep telling you I got to wrap this up,
No worries.
but no, honestly, I want you. I was trying to get because of my scheduling and I've got some family issues going on. I wanted to bring you on back in May.
Oh,
I
that's all
was
right.
like, oh no, it's just I'm sorry. I was like, and
Yeah.
then, and over the few months going, I got to get John back on. It's the
Oh,
20th
it's nice,
anniversary.
man.
Trust me, man. My mind was
Yeah.
going. That little worm was going. Well, not the JFK
Not the
Junior worm. Yeah,
RFK
not
Jr. worm,
like
exactly.
the what the oh shoots the Shazam worm, the worm
Oh, Mr.
mine.
Mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Mine
Mind,
was back
sure.
there.
I was thinking Jiminy Cricket actually on your shoulder going, you gotta talk to John, John. You gotta talk to John, Jason.
All right, so let me just wrap this up. I'm going to do the closing.
Sure.
If you are a new comic, and feel free to jump in, just don't worry, just jump in too. If you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader, please check out John's Word Balloon podcast. I've already said this. I love the podcast. It's just two people just basically talking story about comics and pop culture, and and also too, please consider joining the League of Word Balloon listeners. Like I said, I've been doing it for 5 years. And it's great. John has been giving great content. The monthly Word Balloon magazine that comes out. He also and like John has talked about him and whenever Brian Michael Bendis have time, the Word Balloon book club. And again,
The
it's a
Zoom.
Zoom call.
Yep.
John sends a link, what book to read, and it's a Zoom call.
Yep.
And I'm going to say, I have to just pop in because, like you said, I don't have to
Yeah,
ask
man.
questions. I can just listen.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and again, the people seem to really enjoy it. So we're glad that we're doing it, and yeah, it's just a matter of making the time. And I really even am considering doing Zooms if Brian isn't available for the month. That we'll figure out one. And like I said, we'll do the Ask Me Anythings, and that's
Mhm,
another Zoom opportunity for patrons and league
mhm.
members. So there you go.
And I have to, when you and Brian do, sorry, I'm looking on my shelf. When
Sure.
you guys start doing the Parker series, because I think I got two of those Darwin Cook Parker books.
Okay.
God, I would love to
We're
sit
doing
in.
we're doing the outfit. It may just be that because, like for instance, Criminal, we did the first volume. Same
Yeah,
with Saga, but it's just yeah, just to because yeah, just for whatever reason, we there's so many other books to cover that I think we will just stick with like one volume from a great run. First volume, 100 Bullets, for example, another one.
yeah.
You know.
No, but I would just love to just sit in and listen
Yeah.
to that because I'm going to be honest. When I start to, I don't know which volume or which Parker story I picked up, Darwin Cook. I was reading it, I loved it, but man, it's dense. It's great,
Yes.
but it's like you have to sit and it's not a,
Yeah, yeah, you have to read it. I mean, it's
it's,
forgive me, Steranko told Azzarello, "Hey, if I can get through your book after, when I take your comic to the bathroom and I get through it before I'm done with my shit, then you failed as a writer." And he's right. And again, I love the knuckleheads, and there's some podcasts out there. I'm not looking for subtext. I'm just looking for simple. It's like, well, if you want simple, go to another place because
yeah,
I don't want simple. I want complicated comic books. And I'm
yeah,
glad that those people are out there. And those are the people that Brian and I are talking about on our show. And the things they put deceptively in the art that you may not look at, again, if you're thumbing through
it's,
fast and go, wait a minute. Like, I'm sorry, again, I don't mean to continue this, but like Watchmen, Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore put so much information in the
yes,
backgrounds of panels. You know what I'm talking about.
yes,
And yeah, it's like, no, that stuff needs to be acknowledged and paid attention to. And that's why Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore are the geniuses that they are.
yes. So, listeners, you got a sample of what the book club is going to be about. So, please, if you can afford it, please, contribute to the League of Word Balloon listeners. And John, I'm still waiting for I don't want a digital mask and cape. I want an actual mask and cape.
Oh dear. Oh dear. All right, I'm gonna have to. I'll talk to somebody in the seamstress. It's a shame my grandmother isn't around anymore because she
No,
used to work for one of those seamstresses and stuff. She probably could have whipped up a mask and a cape for you.
you probably go to the Spirit of Halloween stores. Ah, yeah, this looks great for Jason.
Oh man, those stories, Jesus Christ. Ugh.
Um, I want to thank Drew, the co-host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. And Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. Listeners, I mean, he does everything. When I send him the recordings, he has to do all the background work. He does the promos, and then he schedules when they come out. So, Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Word Balloon. You know, at least what, maybe 2 or 3 episodes a week, John.
Oh
Sometimes,
yeah, no, like four, and then I do reruns just because again, having a couple thousand episodes. I think there are episodes that the newer audience hasn't heard, or even I like to hear reruns of certain podcasts as well.
yes,
So I try to put out an episode 5 days a week.
yeah, okay. And then for Comics for Fun and Profit, new episodes come out every Saturday. And finally, I want to thank you, the listener. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys, aloha. John, feel free to say aloha too.
Yes, aloha and mahalo. Thank you very much.
20 years of voices coming through. John sits down and listens close. Every question finds the truth. Crime and horror, action too. One-on-one, the stories grow. From the page to the screen, all the worlds between. Word salesmen hit the road. Pensions fill some days. Candles bring the overflow. Comics, games, and books unfold. John keeps building, finding ways. From the page to the screen, something bigger than it seems. Word below, rising up, reaching out. Word below.